Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. At this time, I yield to Councilmember Clendenin to welcome today's invocation.
Good morning. I'm excited to welcome a dear friend of mine to Tampa City Council, but he's no stranger to this council or many halls of government. Bishop Tom Scott was called to the ministry in August 1971 under the ministry of Reverend G.H. Williams at the Community Church of God in Macon, Georgia. Bishop Scott became the pastor of the 22nd Street Church of God in April 1980 and led the church in building a new edifice, which is now named the 34th Street Church of God, where he has served as a senior pastor for over 40 years. Bishop Scott has been married to his lovely wife, Marva, for 48 years. They have two sons, two great sons, by the way, Marcus and Marlon, one daughter, Marla, two daughters-in-law, Tanya Y. Scott and Tisa N. Scott, 12 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. My goodness, that's a family Sunday dinner. I want to welcome once again to Tampa City Council chambers my dear friend and a friend of the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, and everything good in our community, Reverend Bishop Tom Scott.
And to my councilwoman, District 5, Councilwoman Henderson, thank you for the privilege of being here today. And as we invoke the presence of God, let me just say you have an awesome task and assignment that you have been entrusted with, not only by the people, but by God. And so you have a great responsibility. I have been where you are. I know the role that you have and all the important decisions you have to make. And so I just want you to know that you're always in my prayers. We are reminded of what your word said. What does thou require of the old man? But to do justly, love mercy, and to walk humbly before our God. Today we pause to thank you for the bountifulness of your grace and your mercy upon us. A new day that we have never seen before, but yet you have given us a new opportunity to make a difference in our community and in our world. I pray today for our nation and those that govern, that you give them wisdom and knowledge that make good, sound decisions for our nation. And we pray now for our troops around the world, that they protect democracy in this nation. We pray for our local first responders and those who protect us here locally, that you guard and guide their life and protect them. And now we thank you for our mayor. We thank you for our city council who must make difficult and sound decisions. I pray that you will give them wisdom, give them knowledge. We pray that they will be a council of civility, and a council who work to make this community and this city better for all the citizens. I pray today that Tampa will be not just an ordinary city, but a great city because of those who represent us. I pray now for the safety of our city. I pray now that you'll bless our city and the prosperity of our city. And ultimately that your name will be glorified in all that we do. It is in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Carlson. Here. Hertek. Here. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Here. Miranda. Here. Maniscalco.
Here.
You have a physical quorum.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to go through the, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from April 4th, 2024 and April 11th, 2024? Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, I'm going to go through the agenda for some approval of the agenda and the addendum. So at the beginning, before ceremonial, I'm going to bring up a new ADA special needs intern from the McDonald's Training Center. We'll get that once we approve the agenda, but that'll be first to introduce her. I have a memo received from Mr. Brad Baird requesting item number 26 be removed from the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Just an FYI, items 44 and 57 are related, but they do not need to be heard together. Just wanted to bring that up. And then I received a memo from Mr. Tony Mulkey requesting item number 87 be continued to August 22nd. We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? And I'm going to go through staff reports real quick. Yes, sir.
Sorry for the last minute of this, but I had some calls last night and this morning about 53 and 54, and I would just like to pull them for a separate discussion, please.
Wait, let me see.
They're regarding the Regional Infrastructure Accelerator Cooperative Agreement.
All right, we'll pull those for discussion and put them under staff reports. Is that good? All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Carlson for 53 and 54 to be pulled for discussion. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, I'm going to go through the staff reports, administration update. Chief, do you have anything today?
Just what you.
Okay, just that? Okay, so that you'll bring up at the beginning. Item number 68, would you like staff present for that?
Yes, please.
All right, yes on 68. How about 69?
It's the same thing, really, right?
Yeah, it's part 1 and 2. So we'll have 68, 69 present. We have a $1 million, item number 70. Do we need staff present?
This is the one that's 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75. These all go together. This is that,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think.
So we'll have staff present for 70, 71, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. Item number 76, is that a yes for staff present? Or is the memo sufficient? All right. We will not have staff present for 76. We do have a memo. How about item number 77? Same, okay. We will not have staff present for 77. 78?
Yes.
All right, we'll have staff present for 78. How about 79?
If I may.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's the one that TPD
With
was coming.
TPD, okay, yes. 80?
Yeah, that's a presentation.
Yes, so we'll have staff for 80. 81? Yes?
Yes.
All right.
82, yes.
82, yes. 83?
Yes, they're prepared to present.
Yes. 84? Yes. Okay, there's no staff report to that. 85? Yes. Yes to 85?
Yeah, because they're reporting, but I don't think it'll be very
Long? Okay.
long.
And item number 86?
Yes, and if I may, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
sir. Go ahead.
I know we have a lot of folks here who are coming for item number 86, and just if we could have it, I don't want to say at a time certain, but sometime earlier, because right now, if it's going to be here, we could be here until late, so just some accommodation.
You want to do it first under staff report?
Yes, I know also 79 as well was supposed to come up early, but yeah, first or second before all the big ticket items,
Second.
if we may.
Second.
All right. So we will bring up 86 first under staff reports.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a second from Councilmember Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? Yeah, 86 is the commission. All right. Is there anything else? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from?
I just wanted to make a recommendation if council's so inclined. 81, if it's possible, to maybe go after 75. We'd have director continuity on those two topics.
81 after 75?
Yeah, they're both in staff reports, but it's the same director.
Okay. So moved. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember
Thank
Hurtak.
you.
All in favor? Aye. And can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right, any opposed? Thank you very much. Chief Bennett, do you want to present our new intern?
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Council. Good morning to our public. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. I will let Raquel Poncho, our ADA Coordinator, do the introductions of our intern in McDonald's Training Center. But I just want to thank Council for supporting our intern program. I'm honored to have 2 of the 3 interns in my portfolio, and I really just want to take a second to brag about Raquel. She's a one-person show that does amazing things, both proactively and strategically with our special events and our infrastructure to make sure everything's ADA accessible. So with no further ado, Raquel, you want to take it over?
Good morning. First, I'd like to thank council for your support always and dedication for access inclusion for persons with disabilities. Councilman Vieira, your initiative to bring the internship program to the city of Tampa is just absolutely incredible. So thank you for all of your support for the work. So I'd like to introduce to you Tavy Spidel Fry. She comes from McDonald's Training Center, and I am ecstatic to have her skills in my office. I'll have her tell you a little bit about her background.
Nice to meet you. I'm Tavy Spidel Fry. I currently just graduated the MT Center, McDonald's Training Center, and I have certifications in Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, and PowerPoint. And I'm looking forward to working with Raquel.
And she's only been here for a few days and has already gotten me well organized. So I'm really grateful to have her here. And thank you again for the initiative to bring a specialized internship program to the city.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Yes, sir.
If I may. Yeah, and just welcome to you, ma'am, and you're from McDonald's Training Center. If I may ask, where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
High school?
High school?
Yes,
I went to Friendship Christian Academy. It's a little private school.
Oh, no, nothing wrong with that. I went to a little private school as a kid, too. Well, that's great. My brother works at McDonald's Training Center, too, over at James Ranch. So welcome here to the city of Tampa, and we appreciate all your work. And McDonald's Training Center, my good friend Phyllis Guthman is here. And for Raquel, you're always a godsend to so many people. Everybody in every organization knows you and the great work you do, from Best Buddies to Special Olympics, McDonald's Training Center, places like the Lavoy, Commendation, et cetera, and just everyday families around here. They know who you are and the work that you do. You're very fortunate to be able to do that work, and we're very fortunate to have you. So just God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm really fortunate to have individuals support the work that I do. So
Yep,
thank
amen.
you.
Well, welcome to you, young lady.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, Councilmember Carlson. Councilmember
I just want to say quickly, welcome on board the city and let us know if we can help you with anything. But I also want to give an additional shout out to Raquel. Besides all the things that she does with those organizations, she specifically helps constituents, and she's helped several of mine. And helping constituents with complicated issues find access through multiple agencies, local, federal, other agencies, to find assistance is a very complicated, time-consuming effort. And at the end of that whole process, the constituents call me and thank me for the work that Raquel does. So I just want to thank her and her department for everything they do. They're really touching people's lives and helping people directly.
Councilmember Henderson.
Good morning. I was so excited to hear you say that you're certified in 3 areas. I taught Microsoft Office 3 or 4?
4.
Okay, then I have something to tell you that's very important. When you say that you're certified, you can use the word specialist because you have 4 certifications. You can say, I am a Microsoft specialist, because that's exactly what you are, having earned 4 industry certifications. Congratulations on that. That is a national certification, can be challenging to pass, so I congratulate you on having those skills.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go to item number 1 here. Councilmember Vieira, you have a commendation to present to Cheryl Schroeder.
Good morning, Council. Real pleasure to be here. It's a real pleasure to honor Ms. Cheryl Schroeder for her retirement and her 20 years of work here in the West Central Florida Labor Council, doing amazing work. I know that every person who is here on Tampa City Council is a very strong supporter of working families. We have 3 individuals here who have been or are labor union members, Councilwoman Henderson, Councilman Clendenin, and Councilwoman Hertak, who have been or are in the past. We're always very, very proud to support organized labor here in the city of Tampa. because of the role that labor has played historically and continues to play in our United States in seeking justice. We know that throughout history, amazing people and great Americans like people like Walter Reuther, Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, George Meany, and so many, John L. Lewis, and so many other great Americans have fought so hard to make sure that we have justice in the United States. And it's part of a political tradition that we support what I call the FDR, Harry Truman, Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, LBJ, Hubert Humphrey, Walter Reuther tradition of social justice, right? And making sure that people who work hard and play by the rules have dignity as a result, because that's what Americans are due, and that's what organized labor is all about. Cheryl has 20 years here in the West Central Florida Labor Council, the first woman to so lead this council. She has done an amazing job and worked with City Council to promulgate and push for numerous pro-worker initiatives, including most recently our apprenticeship initiative and making sure that our projects are inclusive and welcome working families. She began, I did some research, some good research, that you began as an office manager with the Pasco County Teachers Union, and she also organized for the United Auto Workers. And unfortunately here in Florida, and yes, this is political, it's been an uphill battle, and it continues to be for working families. But Cheryl has always done such a great job in shining a light on the needs of working families and what government and organizations can do to better support them. So for that 20 years of advocacy and the advocacy that she will continue to do, and the advocacy the organization will continue to do through that great Irishman, Jim Junico, we are very proud to present you with a Tampa City Council commendation. Madame, there you
Thank
go.
you. Oh, my goodness. Beautiful. Very nice. Thank you. And I am so grateful and honored by this commendation. And thank you, Councilman Vieira. And I know most of you worked with many of you for many years. I can remember my days starting out. One of the first actions that we did with Tampa City Council was when Mayor Iorio was in office, and they were trying to privatize Parks and Rec. And working with ATU, our amalgamated transit union local that represents City of Tampa, we pushed back on that. And that was the beginning. Ever since then, we've come to council numerous times with needs, wants, wishes, and for the most part, you all have stepped up. In fact, when you look at my jurisdiction, which was 12 counties during my tenure at CLC, that this was the nest, this was the hub, this is where it all began. This is where we were able to push an agenda that helped working families in our area, and you all were complicit and partners in that. And I can't begin to tell you how much I have enjoyed working with City Council. All of you individually and as a whole, it's been really the highlight of my career, and I just wish I could just take Tampa City Council government and just duplicate it everywhere, because as Louis mentioned earlier, we're in a fight for our lives, and I just hope that the folks that come behind me with Jim Janeco and others, that they will continue the fight. I'm certain that the will and the might is there, and we're just going to hopefully keep moving forward. But again, without City Council, I don't know what we would have done in the Tampa Bay area. You've been the leader, you've been the litmus test, you've been the standard that we've all held to, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, everybody. And I love the commendation. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, and I want to thank you for all your work, and I'm glad that, you know, when you're doing organizing, it's always good to have one space where you can say, okay, this is working, and then that helped give you the energy to work in those other counties. But you know what has grown from that? I mean, I read the news, it seems like at least once a week, there's a new report of another organization unionizing. There's one this morning, and so the work that you've done, the roots you've put down in this community are being felt throughout the country as folks realize that unions are the way to get a stable job that can help feed a family and keep everyone, provide the money and the support and the resources that they need.
Absolutely.
And so thank you so much for the work you've done, because you are instrumental in that, and it will continue, because of the roots that you have helped lay down.
Thank you, Lynn. Councilmember Clendenin, Carlson, Miranda.
That's no secret, my love for organized labor, because I recognized long ago, if it wasn't for the working men and women that fight for themselves, nobody would fight for them.
Right.
That it's businesses' responsibility in our capitalist society is to make money for the owners and the stockholders of those companies, and that's it. It's the pushback that the organizing workers provide is the only reason we have workforce safety, that we have the benefits. God did not put in the 10 Commandments that you have a 40-hour work week. He did not put in the 10 Commandments that you get a vacation. He didn't put in the 10 Commandments that you have a safe working environment. These are all things that are brought to you courtesy of the working men and women of organized labor. And there's nothing better in our city and our society than folks that will stand up and fight for themselves, and not just for themselves. One of the biggest lessons of being a member, being a union brother, was it's not just you. You're a part of a brother and sisterhood. Right. That you don't just stand up for yourself. When you see an injustice, you see a problem, you stand up for others. And that's part of what brought me here to City Council. And it's not about myself. It's about fighting for other people and making other people's lives better. And that's a lesson that was taught to me at the George Meany Center in Maryland, a great center that we had, and I had the privilege of going to many times. But Cheryl, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to work with you for all those years, and it has been a lot of years. And I've always admired you be able to wrangle those monkeys in that circus and
herding
be able
cats,
to
yes.
and herding cats and be able to bring them together for a unified voice to support the cause. So thank you, and have a beautiful day, and it's well deserved.
Very much.
Councilmember Carlson Moran.
Yeah, and just to add something slightly different to the whole mix of congrats and thanks, across the unions you deal with, you all also do intensive, high-quality training programs. I think we've all taken tours of some of them, and you're teaching safety standards, as my colleague said, but you're also taking people who wouldn't have earned as much, and they're earning double, triple once they finish those training programs, because you're teaching them valuable skills, and you're saving taxpayer money too, because you're doing it really with the private sector instead of running them through other school programs. So anyway, thank you to all that. Lastly, even though you're retiring, whatever you're going to do, I expect that we're still going to need to return your phone calls right away. So
usually if I'm reaching out, it's because it's an SOS. Yes.
So you know our numbers, and if you like or don't like something, please call us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Moran.
Thank you. Thank you for what you've done in the past, what you've done in the present, and what you're going to do in the future. You're not one to sit down and say, I'm retired, I'm not going out. I'm not leaving the house, I'm not helping no one. That's not you. You talked about the our administration. I remember some of that conversation. But what can I say that in the people's mind will relate to what you've done? And that means I got to compare you with somebody else. You are to unions what Taylor Swift is to music.
Wow, that's high praise.
You've organized, and during the election time, you'd had all the representatives from the different unions come to the screening of all the candidates. And it's because of you that they were there, because you know how to do things. The labor, when we used to have the September issue and the Labor Day event, you were certainly part of that. You were part of everything that happened. And I remember going back, and I'm not trying to date myself.
Or me.
I mean, you look very nice compared to me, okay? You look very nice, period.
Thank you.
So in 1954, I used to go to local 104 to get my pass to go work at the Columbia restaurant. Mm-hmm. And the irony of that is that once in a while, the secretary wasn't there, and his nephew would give out the passes. You know who that was? Governor Bob Martinez. So I can tell you all the stories about all that, how it happened, and how it was a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And it means so much that helping people that get a minimum wage or get more advanced and do the studies. And what you all have done in different areas of trainees, teaching individuals how to become electricians or carpenters or whatever they want to do that you all have set up, it's an enormous thing. And so I say thank you for all you've done in the past, what you remember for today, and what you're going to do in the future. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, Ms. Schroeder, on your retirement. You made me think about my father again. 40 plus years after his passing, I found his paycheck stub, and he paid $1 a week in his union dues, and that just made me so proud as a union member myself. I know the work that goes into getting what's right, fighting for the people who make things happen every single day. I know you will be missed, and I'm sure your phone will ring when they need you and you will answer it. But congratulations. Enjoy the rest. When you wake up you get to say, I get to do as I please.
You're right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, City Council.
Congratulations.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Guido.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you.
All right. Councilmember Miranda, you have the Water Conservation Month.
Honorable Council Chairman, honorable council members, it's my pleasure this morning to be here with Roy Jones, who is the head of the Water Department in the city of Tampa. This month is very important because as you realize what water is, you can't live without it. You can't have anything that's growing and cultivating food or pleasure of looking something grown in your own house, a flower, a plant, or a tree. And it's important that we keep up this conservation knowledge about what it means to conserve the water issues that we have in this whole country. And it's because of the citizens of the city of Tampa and the leadership of the water department that we present this outstanding employee department of the water in the city of Tampa to Roy Jones, who's the head of the water department, based on all that work in the water department, but on behalf of the public, who without conservation, we not have what we have today. When we go through droughts, and this is a period of months that we've had some rain January and February, and now we're into the drought area, it's incumbent upon all of us to save water. And this means a lot to everyone in the city. Water Conservation Month is encouraged and practiced, but it's up to the citizens. We have about over 700,000 water accounts throughout the city and parts of the county. That means a lot for us to save what we do on a daily basis. And it's because of the gentleman to my right and to the employees who produce that water. And it's one of the best water qualities in the United States. And it means so much to say this. There's only 7 water utilities in the whole United States of America that have a AAA bond rating. And the city of Tampa is one of the 7. So congratulations to the people in the audience, to the citizens of the city of Tampa, and to all that contribute to this. And on behalf of the Tampa City Council, Mr. Jones, we'd like to present you and your employees on behalf of the city of Tampa for Water Conservation Month to make sure that we follow all the rules and regulations so that we can have the water that we need for the future forever and ever. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. This seems weird. This is, you're giving me credit, too much credit. These guys do the work. Our CFO does the work. My name really shouldn't be on this. It's a team effort. And this team, and I want to thank you guys as well. The support for the conservation efforts and our One Water approach, you know, our customers, residents, they've really stepped up. When we enacted that 1 day per week water restriction, the residents listened. You guys helped get the messaging out there, and it's resulted in a 6 million gallon per day savings over what we were last year. That's a huge savings not only to our customer, but it has a rippling effect through our operations, whether it's electrical use, chemical use, just the general wear and tear, on our equipment. And we've got a dedicated team that I'm getting the credit for, but they deserve it, that this is what they specialize in. It's our conservation and outreach education team, that this team and their efforts saved 75 million gallons last year. That resulted in a $600,000 savings for our customers. And I need to step aside and let Julia, our environmental specialist, really speak to what they do. And maybe next year we'll get their names on this.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the council. My name is Julia Ploszczak, and I'm very proud to be part of the water conservation team since 2014. Conservation, my sister warned me, is sort of an old word. Doesn't mean what it used to mean, doesn't drive people like it used to. But in a growing city like we have, during Water Conservation Month, it's the perfect time to renew our purpose and our understanding of what are we doing with our water each day and making sure that it's a necessary use. And that as we do our jobs, this team, and as I've gotten to know this team, I understand that each day when we come to work, we serve our community. But really, at underlying all of the work that we do with our customers every day is the environment that we love, the Florida that we know, and it all relies on having water in that environment to sustain that community, those habitats. So we encourage everyone to know your water number. How much water do you use every day? If you get a bill from the City of Tampa Utilities, we tell you how much water you used. Have a very good understanding of that. And when you need help, please reach out to us. You can email us at savewater@tampagov.net. You can visit us online, tampagov.net/savewater. We've got webinars, we've got free resources, and it is the community that has stepped up to find out what am I doing with my water and how can I be more efficient. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
If I may, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Brad Barry. At one time led the water department, now he's got various departments under him. I want to thank Brad and part of the crew who's done this. But let me say this before the council speaks. We have to change how we do things in the future. Water evaporates at 15 to 20% of the open body. And this government should look at things like trying to save the evaporation by putting floating solar panels so that the water is not heated and evaporates up, and you get two benefits for that. A, saving water, and B, creating electricity. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Anyone else? Thank you all.
Mr. Chair. Rory, I just want to ask you a clarifying question. You said that compared to last year, we saved 7 MGD, 7 million gallons a day?
75 million gallons. Well, so at this point last year, we were 6 million gallons per day higher than we are today.
And so the cutting back to 1 time a week happened since then. So 7 million gallons a day is what, 8% of the total that we use?
Yeah.
I just wanted to reinforce that for the public, as much as I haven't heard any complaints, but people may wish that they could water twice a week. But at 8%, we saved 8% of the entire city's water supply per day, plus the energy and other costs you mentioned by doing this. So I want to thank everybody for sticking to it.
Yes, thank you. And that has a cause and effect, like I said, on our operations, but our CIP dollars too. That's 6 million gallons we don't necessarily have to implement right away. You know, it helps with our growing demand, our growing population. So yes, exactly. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you so much for all you do. Conservation is near and dear to my heart. I was watering my plants out of my rain barrel last night, so it's just, trying to stick with it. But also, just wanted to say that last summer I replaced half of my front lawn with a pollinator garden, and I cannot tell you how much less stressed I am about watering, making sure things are staying alive, so much so that I've started on the other half of my front yard, and that will be done this summer. But just the amount of, so not only am I using less water, I'm worrying about my yard less, which is, if you're a gardener, if you're a person who does that for your house, it's a level of stress I didn't even know existed. And so to know that you can get rid of that stress and use less water.
Yes,
and so
yes.
Just a little PSA for folks who are thinking about it. It's been a wild success, and even as a gardener, I'm shocked at how amazing and how easy the maintenance is on a pollinator garden.
Great.
Good morning. I just love you all's passion and water conservation. Thank you so much for what you do. I just want to tell you all a quick funny story about water conservation. My brother is visiting when my mom passed away, and he tried to take a shower at my house, and it has a button for you not to run water, when you don't need it. So it was a very slow drip. finally, after 2 days, he told me, he was like, something's wrong with your water. It drips very slow. And I said, oh no, that's water conservation, baby. You have to push the button when you really need it. And I just love the conversations that I had with you all when I first met you. Thank you for what you do. I really appreciate it, even on a personal level, just being more conscious of it, along with even the education that we give to our students and participating in Water Conservation Week. Thank you so much. I would like to hear the titles of everyone in your department, if you don't mind.
They are, go ahead, introduce yourselves.
Hello, Ryan Smith, City Tampa Water Department. I'm an Environmental Specialist 1, and I work with the Conservation Efficiency team.
Eliana Hernandez, good morning. I'm also an Environmental Specialist 1 for the Water Conservation Outreach team.
You already know me.
You already know you, I'm sorry. I'm Tonya Torres, and I'm an Environmental Specialist 1 with Water Conservation team.
Good morning, I'm Justin Wynn, Environmental Specialist on the Conservation team.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. All right, next up, I'd like to welcome Ms. Lorraine Perino and Tina Anderson, who is the daughter of Joe Chalura. Is that correct? Yes. They are going to present regarding Arbor Day. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Lorraine Perino, President of the Tampa Tree Advocacy Group. Honorable City Council, for the past several years, each of us at TTAG, Carol Ann Bennett, Pamela Jackson-Haney, Allison Date, and Nancy Stevens, have spoken to you and other city officials of the importance of preserving Tampa's diminishing tree canopy. As one of TTAG's most important goals is to advocate for the protection of Tampa's disappearing old-growth grand oaks, TTAG has attended rezoning, plan development, and VRB hearings whenever grand tree removals are at stake. According to the 2021 Tree Canopy and Urban Forest Analysis, from 2016 to 2021, Tampa lost 4% of its tree canopy. South Tampa alone lost 18%. The red dots on this map signify the enormous number of houses in South Tampa that have been destroyed in the past decade, together with the trees which surrounded them. For the past several years, TTAG has sought to illuminate the public discourse by emphasizing the preservation of Tampa's trees, while highlighting the many important benefits that grand trees provide to the entire community, including Tampa's native wildlife, which depends on grand trees to survive and thrive. In 2023, TTAG succeeded in preserving 49 trees, including 8 of Tampa's priceless grand oaks. Some say that grand oaks can no longer be considered urban trees as they require too much space. Thought must be given, however, to the fact that live oaks are the most valuable species of trees in Florida, and to discount their importance to the health and well-being of the entire community would be counterproductive. As you know, grand oaks are the workhorses of city and forest. They are giant oxygen pumping stations, providing more shade, more leaf coverage, more flood prevention, and more wildlife habitat than any other tree. Yet only 3% of Tampa's urban forest is comprised of oak trees. This scarcity of oaks diminishes the health of the entire community. Oak trees live for centuries, bestowing their precious gifts of oxygen, pollution storage, lowered heat index, and water retention on countless future generations. The oldest oak tree in this country is estimated to be at least 1,000 years old. The Pechanga great oak is so large that it resembles a mini forest. At 100 feet, it reaches the height of a 10-story building. 17 people with arms outstretched would be needed to reach around the base of its massive 20-foot trunk. Unlike the Pechanga great oak, most of Tampa's grand oaks never have the opportunity to complete their long lifespan due to Tampa's rapid growth. Fortunately, there still remain spaces where these long-lived giants are able to grow and thrive. Even in our modern cities, oak trees can grow and age peacefully in areas that house our public spaces. Schools, parks, churches, college campuses, and public buildings like our local fire stations. Tampa's tree ordinance, responsible for protecting Tampa's tree canopy since 1972, owes its existence to our local Tampa hero, Joe Chalura. Tampa Stadium, which has hosted 5 Super Bowls, might never have been built were it not for Joe Chalura's vision and efforts to fund its construction. Tampa's cherished dreams of long ago might never have been transformed into reality were it not for Joe Chalura's vision, guidance, and hard work. Sadly, Joe left us a few months ago. A lifelong admirer of the natural world, Joe Chalura's last cherished dream was to plant a live oak tree at each city fire station. Joe believed that firefighters and oak trees have a lot in common. Just as firefighters selflessly benefit the entire community by their constant vigilance and steadfast service, the community benefits equally from the constant, steadfast, and selfless service that trees provide. Last year, Joe Chalura took the first step in achieving his dream by planting a live oak tree in front of Fire Station number 3. Many years from now, when Joe's grandchildren are adults, this little tree will have transformed into a grand oak and will bestow its many benefits on all of Tampa for the next 100 years or longer. Joe's vision of planting a tree at the city's fire station dovetails perfectly with the mayor's tree initiative goals of planting 30,000 trees by 2030, working with city council to put more resources into Tampa's tree canopy, and supporting neighborhood-based planting projects. Joe's vision also supports the city's charge to plant 1,000 trees annually and will help to mitigate Tampa's significant loss of trees. As a start, TTAG has identified at least 7 city fire stations that would benefit from live oak plantings. At a time when intense summer heat has become dangerous to our health, tree preservation and the planting of new trees is critical to the health of city residents. We Tampa residents owe a great deal of gratitude to Joe Chalura for enacting the city's 1972 tree ordinance and also for his leadership in planting the first live oak tree at a city fire station. City Council, please, let's show our appreciation to Joe Chalura and pay tribute to his last cherished vision for Tampa by passing a resolution today to plant a live oak tree at each city fire station. On behalf of all Tampa residents and in honor of Joe Chalura's extraordinary legacy to Tampa, TTAG wishes to express its appreciation to Tina Anderson, Joe's daughter, remember Tina, and to his family by presenting this illustration by our local artist, Bob Whitmore.
That's so cute. There you go. I love that. Oh,
Thank you. Here today to discuss her father's legacy is Joe's daughter, Tina.
Thank you. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you, Lorraine, and a special thank you to TTAG and the amazing work they do every day to ensure that Tampa's trees are protected. We are truly honored to get to know this group and to be here with them today. I'm Tina Anderson, Joe's oldest daughter, and I'm joined here by my brother Vince and his 2 girls, my sister-in-law Patsy, my sister Kana, my mom Mary Helen, and my brother Joe. We have a big sprawling family, but these are the folks that happen to be in town today, and we're so honored and happy to be here. So, honorable city council members, a little more than 50 years ago today, our father Joe sat in the chairs that you sit in today and wrote the first tree ordinance for Tampa. He was an architect and a city planner, but most importantly, he was a visionary and recognized the importance of responsible growth in order for Tampa to become the great city that it is today. Part of that vision involved protecting Tampa's beautiful tree canopy. He has been successful in that effort, and with changes in the tree ordinance in the last several years, we face new challenges to keep Tampa green and protect the grand old trees that TTAG has been speaking to you about today. They've shared a lot of the statistics, so I won't go into those. I'd like instead to just talk about the wonder and power of trees. Not only are trees the great protectors of our environment, but they have true social and cultural significance in our societies. Numerous studies have shown that the presence of trees in communities improves mental health, physical well-being, increases our children's aptitudes and attention spans, provides cooling shade, protection, and gathering spaces of tranquility. it's Water Conservation Month. Trees play their big role in that as well, so I'll give a shout out to those folks who were honored today. Trees are essential for healthy living and serve as unifying forces amongst many people and cultures. Most recent example you may have heard in the news lately, the Prime Minister of Japan, when visiting Washington, D.C., who is renowned for the beautiful cherry blossoms there. Everyone travels to D.C. to see those beautiful cherry blossoms. 140 of them were removed for a work project along the tidal basin seawall. And as a gesture of friendship between the Japanese American people and serving as a lesson to when we need to take down trees, if it is necessary, we replace what you took down. So the Prime Minister of Japan gifted to the city of Washington, D.C., 250 new cherry blossom trees for those that had to be removed for construction work. So I think it is all important. We understand that sometimes trees have to come down, but they need to be replaced and replenished. And those that it's not necessary to remove, we need to protect. So Lorraine, when we started this project, asked me if all of us grew up with a love of trees and were aware, growing up, what our dad worked so hard to protect. And I'm here to tell you that it was an astounding yes. When we were growing up, we had a large jacaranda tree in our backyard, and our entire patio was built around that tree. And those beautiful low-hanging branches, we grew up hanging out in that tree with our neighbors, our friends, and, you know, solving the problems of the world as kids do and doing what kids do best. And then under the shade of that tree, we, you know, had family Sunday dinners, and we had beautiful lazy afternoons playing games, telling jokes, and as my dad used to say, just shooting the breeze. How different things would have been if we would have not saved that tree. Truly, we were blessed with the beauty of those moments. Well, this carried into our adulthood. So on our dad's 80th birthday several years ago, we had a tree planted for him, a grand oak planted for him on the Riverwalk in Tampa. And that beautiful tree overlooks the city skyline of the city of Tampa and graces the beautiful Riverwalk, which is such a symbol of progress here in Tampa. And so it was just a gift, the best gift he could have hoped for. And we're so grateful he got to enjoy that tree in all its glory, because it was in front of that tree just several weeks ago where we honored our dad at his celebration of life. And the changing of the guard, the old and the new, the symbolism of that tree standing there with new development in Tampa, with, you know, an old protector of the trees was really so profound. So those of you, and I know many of you have read a lot of his letters, petitions to Congress, to the local city council, et cetera. And he always closed his correspondence with, "I speak for the trees." So for those of you not familiar with that phrase, it was borrowed from this great Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax. And the Lorax is a character who speaks against environmental destruction, but also stresses the responsibility to one's community. So, in the words of our Lorax, for the next generations, we wrote a little poem for you today. And so our dad, the Lorax, our Nanu, and your former city councilman, we share some wisdom from the Lorax. We follow dear Joe as we speak for the trees. He spoke for the trees have no tongues. He shouted this message from the top of his lungs. We must be new voices that speak for those trees, but people are chopping as fast as they please. New growth has been growing without a smart plan. We know you can thrive with old trees. Yes, you can. They changed his great ordinance from long, long ago, and the damage it's done has now started to show. We've stopped home rule logic and said we have rights, just biggering and biggering, this is our plight. But in our public spaces, we now have the chance to aid in this effort, give it more than a glance. Some trees have come down and created a mess, so we're here to deliver the message unless we in this council care a whole awful lot, Nothing will get better. No, it's just not. We are the stewards of the grand live oak trees, and beautiful trees is what everyone needs. So you have the power to grant his request
For the next generation.
Plant us new trees and treat them with care, give them clean water and feed them fresh air. Let them grow freely and protect them from hacks, then Tampa's tree canopy will surely come back. So thank you so much for your time today. Let's all speak for the trees and pass that resolution to get trees for our wonderful first responders and at fire stations around the city. Let's start there and then move on to all our public spaces to share this vision of our dad. Thanks so much for having us today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ms. Shirley Fox. Okay. All right, Ms. Shirley Fox Knowles, you're going to present an applicant for the Architectural Review Commission. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council. I would like to, Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk, I would like to present Mr. Brian David Hammond. Applicant wishes to serve on the Architectural Review Commission as an architect.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Brian Hammond. I live at 3807 South Kenwood Avenue in Tampa. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to serve on the board of the Architectural Review Commission. I've been a resident of Tampa since 1981 and have been a registered architect since 1983. During my career, I've been before the ARC to present the Epicurean, the Hyde Park House, as well as single-family homes. I am currently the Director of Architecture at the Design Studio at BDG Architects, and prior to that, I was a partner at the local architectural firm for 23 years. I believe my knowledge and background uniquely position me to contribute meaningfully to the ARC. Having presented projects to the Commission in the past, I understand the importance of balanced and informed decision-making in preserving and enhancing Tampa's architectural character. My commitment to maintaining high standards in architectural design aligns with the mission of the ARC, and I am eager to bring my expertise to the table in shaping the city's future while respecting its rich architectural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Yes, sir.
And if you could move the resolution. I have a resolution prepared.
All right, so we have a motion to move the resolution by Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll sign it later today. All right, thank you. Next up, we have FDOT to do a 10-minute update, and you have a PowerPoint presentation. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
So they're going to bring that up in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, there it is.
All right.
And if they could bring it up on our monitors here up front as well. Go ahead, sir. Please state your name.
Right. Yep. Good morning, Chairman and council members. My name is M.S. Duran. I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm the District 7 Traffic Safety Program Engineer, and I'm here to the pleasure to present to you our Safe System Approach, Safe Roads Strategy. This is went too far there. District 7 has been working on identifying ways to be proactive in reducing fatal and serious injury crashes. And one of the things that we've been looking at recently, as of last year, is pavement friction and pavement management. Friction is a huge factor in reducing stopping side distinct, reducing fatal and serious injuries. And one of the things that we've been looking at is, how do we innovate based in comparison to the traditional method. You know, the traditional method of collecting payment friction currently is every quarter of a mile. So there are gaps between the friction data that is collected on our roads. This new method that we're looking at in our district safety office is collecting friction at every lane every 13 feet or so, 26 feet. So this will help us to identify those gaps where we may need to increase our friction and deploy countermeasures to reduce lane departure crashes, which is a high emphasis area in our strategic highway safety plan. So again, this is continuous payment friction management or measurements. Data for safety is a strategy of the Safe Roads for All, safe system approach. And this will help us identify performance thresholds based on context. For instance, if the friction on an urban arterial is that similar or does not require higher friction than an area that has rural. So currently we design for a specific pavement or friction. So is there a need to increase and make a difference between the different contexts? And that's the way we can also identify friction systemically as well. That's coming up strange, but I don't know if you're seeing the like a cut through. But what this slide is supposed to show is on urban arterials and rural arterials, crash data, continuous payment friction can help reduce fatal and serious injuries by 30% in urban arterials, and if I can see it on there, but 26% on rural arterials. So last year we used this machine called a SCRIM, or Sideways Force Coefficient Routine Investigation machine. This machine travels the road at higher speeds and collects the data as it goes, as it travels through the road. Last year we collected over 2,100 miles of friction data. We only were able to do this in 14 days. What we're looking at doing with this data is integrating into our policy for resurfacing. This can help us reduce crashes on 30% of crashes on wet roads, 40% of crashes on, 20% of crashes on dry roads, and 40% of crashes of fatal and serious fatalities. This is a payment management strategy that is being used nationwide, and this is the first time we have used it in our area in this district. This is a pilot project that we did a few years ago to identify areas. We piloted this on Hillsborough Avenue, several intersections. We collected data, friction data for intersection approaches to identify what the friction looked like. And we realized there were several intersections that had a high number of crashes, rear-end crashes, that actually lacked the necessary friction to reduce the stopping distance. And once we identified this information, we were able to deploy a payment management technique to improve friction called high friction surface treatment. So what that is just a high quality aggregate that's overlaid on top of the pavement, and that can help reduce the stopping distance, increase expected stopping behaviors, as well as reduce encroachment of vehicles onto crosswalks as they approach these intersections. This pilot project actually was recognized by the National Roadway Safety Foundation in 2023, and as a national recognized practice in our nation. So we deployed several locations where we saw the need for increased friction, and those that I see highlighted on the screen are the ones that are within the city of Tampa's jurisdiction. And we look at the crashes before and after we deploy, and we saw crashes have reduced, ranging from 26 to 70% in some of these locations, between the locations. So with the data that was collected systemically, we have developed a dashboard to be able to manage the information. And this is not just a one-time thing. This is expected to be a long-term managing strategy for payment and on our friction. And what you're seeing on the screen is just a dashboard where we're going to be able to visually see those areas that may have a higher need for friction. And overall, what the pilot project, the end goal of this is to, which is what you're seeing on numbers, what you will see on number 6 and number 7 is to implement this and integrate this into our resurfacing policy. You know, right now, our policy prioritizes programs based on crack, rot, and ride, which are significant factors in safety. But friction is also a primary factor in reducing stopping distance and reducing lane departure crashes. So by including friction, integrating friction into our resurfacing policy as a factor for prioritizing our resurfacing projects, we can continue moving the needle to reduce fatalities and serious injuries. And then with that, I think I just want to recognize Work Zone Safety Month this week, especially. We recognize Work Zone Safety Week, and I just want to bring that up to you and let you all know. With that, any questions?
Councilmember Hertog.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that presentation. It was very interesting. You highlighted an intersection, Hillsborough and Central. I drive that at least twice, maybe 3 times a day. What exactly did you do? Because right now that area is under construction. So there's not really any pavement that's been touched there except on the south side.
On the eastbound end, this was done in 2021, 2022.
Oh, okay.
We implemented, the eastbound approach has an overlay of this high friction surface treatment. It's let me see if I can go back. I think I had a picture of what that looks like. Can I? So as you see on that picture on the top right, that's the difference between the previous, the existing pavement and the high friction. You see, it's a higher, coarser aggregate that you see on the pavement.
Okay, so that was done a while ago. Okay,
Yeah.
that clarifies that. Thank you. And then I just have one question that you may or may not be able to answer. I know FDOT's a really large organization. I was just at a meeting for the Southeast Seminole Heights Stormwater Project that deals with where we had questions about Florida Avenue repaving. There's a section just south of Hillsborough.
Okay.
The northbound section that has been unpaved, well, actually both, north and south, that has been unpaved for, I think it's going on 2 years now.
Okay.
And we had a bunch of questions. Nelson couldn't ask, and then FDOT was actually at a meeting at Southeast Seminole Heights Neighborhood Association the exact same night. FDOT couldn't answer it. They said it was the city's problem, so I would just ask that you all get together and figure out whose problem it is so we can get that paved.
I agree.
I also spoke to Mr. Baird about it this morning. That's why I raced out. So we'll see if we can get an answer hopefully by the end of the day.
Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming by and
your microphone.
Technology and having automobiles stop at a much quicker rate than in the past. However, us being humans, there's a little problem with all that. Not that you're wrong, you're right. However, here's what I noticed in my driving experience. First of all, we're changing the way we have automobiles manufactured. They're going from gas engines to electrical engines and hybrid. In fact, right now, hybrids are outselling the electrical. But that'll change in the future, and you're going to have cars out of hydrogen, even water engines, so that the noise is zero. So what I'm saying is, they're going to drive faster. They're going to go further. They don't have to stop for refueling as often. However, the no noise things is a very troubling thing for individuals who are walking and who are changing, who are riding bikes and whatever mode of transportation they have other than the automobile. And it's incumbent upon us to understand what we need. And if we don't change the methodology of which we move and transport ourselves, which is now, I would say, 99% automobile to some degree, we're going to experience something in the future that's going to be really, really not wanted in this whole country. Some cities already have it for 100 years, mode of transportation different than automobiles, and they work. However, cities like Tampa and others like us will find it very difficult to put it through the middle of the streets right now for various reasons. So I look at something like the airport has, and that works there. Why is it that we don't look at something to make it work here? And not only in the city of Tampa, but throughout the transportation network of the whole state of Florida. It's got to change whether we like it or not. And when you see things coming up, they say, well, we want a lesser parking ratio. I say, maybe it works or maybe it doesn't. The only problem with that, if it doesn't work, where are you gonna park the cars if you don't build the garages? I don't have an answer to that. So in abundance of caution, what do? Do we stay the way we are, or do we think in the future it's gonna change so they don't need the garage? So these are the things that are troubling to us and to others who wanna build the building, because it's very difficult to forecast the future when we keep doing the same thing, only addressing intersection, and that's needed, don't get me wrong, in the mode of transportation. So there's gotta be something coming from somewhere in the upper level of government to see how we're gonna do something to make this city and other cities viable, so you don't have to rely on the car. Everything we're doing now is to facilitate what? The car. You built an expressway with 5 lanes. When you need more, you add another lane. So are we doing the right thing? I don't know, that's your department, sir, not your particularly, but who you work for. So we need some clearance on these things, and I wish we change our operational mode somewhat to bring something to the table other than automobiles. But thank you for your report, I really appreciate it, and I know it does work.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shelby, we're gonna go to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of City Council. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Good morning, members of the public. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity at the beginning of today's City Council meeting to address any item on the agenda before City Council takes official action on an item. A 3-minute time limit applies to all speakers providing public comment. Speakers and members of the public are also reminded to please refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks, or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds, or displaying signs or graphics. Speakers are also reminded to refrain from making personal attacks against any city official, staff member, or members of the public. The chair will rule out of order any person who speaks without being recognized or attempts to address City Council from outside the speaker area at the podium. Persons failing to comply with the council rules may also be ruled out of order and, at the discretion of the chair, may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of today's meeting. If you're here to speak on items set for a public hearing, you will have that opportunity when that item is heard later in the agenda. No public comment will be taken later during staff reports. The time to speak about those items on staff reports and items on the consent agenda is now during general public comment. And finally, City Council members should refrain from engaging a speaker under public comment. The public should be aware that City Council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're gonna go to in-person public comment. If you're here to speak, please come up and state your name. You'll have 3 minutes, and then we'll go to the registered public speakers. Good morning, please state your name.
Jenna Bernstein.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
address is 208 South Treasure Drive. Okay, I would like to mention that tonight is the 249th anniversary of Paul Revere's ride for the American Revolution for Boston, Lexington, and Concord, Massachusetts, for the revolution that created our country, American history. But more importantly, I'm born and raised here, born in 1969 at St. Joseph's Hospital, went to HB Plant. It's funny, one of my schoolmates from Plant just was honored by her father here in Tampa. First of all, I'd like to discuss the trees. Bayshore Boulevard has beautiful date palms, but they're being rotted away because they're not cared for. You're talking about 40 years of growth on those palm trees, and you're throwing in cheap old royals to take care of that. CSX needs to fix the crosswalk on Riverwalk. An older person can trip how bad the asphalt is. This is my arm from all the potholes from riding my e-bike at night. FDOT, congratulations, resurfaced Kennedy Boulevard, and now you're digging it all up for new water mains and not filling it in properly. So at night, when I have the legal right for 3 foot to the edge of the road, I'm going like this, and that's what happened to me because of your potholes. We'll talk about the flags on the building on the top here. I've seen that city flag above a POW flag that was changed. The U.S. flag goes on the top of the pole. The POW flag is a federal flag, goes below it. That flag goes way, way below the statue of those flags. I have seen that flag higher raised than a POW flag on your flagpole. It's since been fixed, so keep in mind of that. The logo. Everybody wants to talk about the history of our city, but forget the fact that Florida was a Confederate state. Bob Buckhorn did not want the Confederate War Memorial in a city cemetery. The old city cemetery is still dilapidated. I'm the one who helped restore all the graves in there for free with D2. I'm the one who knows that the first governor and all the people like you that created this city that are buried there that everybody wants to call treasonous. Oh, that's right. We fought the British. I guess all of George Washington and them were treasonous to the British crown. Should we just give up our rights as Americans and give the land back to the Britain because they seceded from England? Long story short, I'm here because there's a lot of issues that need to be fixed. Painting on all the roads. FDOT's here. You need a bike lane that shows a bike with arrows on all major roads. McDill, whatever, there's no bike lane, please put a painted sign. Because on Kennedy, when I'm on from Howard driving up, people are pulling up to me and trying to cut me off on the road. I'm not supposed to ride my bike on a sidewalk. I've been hit riding at Arowana. There's a police report because I did ride on the sidewalk and the guy was only looking in this direction to the right and didn't look to the left and hit my tire. So there's a police report on that. So I'm going to tell you another thing. The overdevelopment and allowing all these chop shop mega mansions going up on these areas. I pray to God we don't get a Cat 5 hurricane because you're allowing this overdevelopment on a very, very old infrastructure. My own family, my father's 91. He's been paying taxes here since 1965, and I'm born here in 69.
Thank you very much.
Please reevaluate what you're doing in the city and help make positive improvements for the future.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Bobby Creighton. I live in Tampa, Florida. I'm here again today to talk about the issue of vacant, boarded, and deteriorating structures in the code. I want to thank council for their interest in that topic and for the time they've taken to consider it. I work in healthcare, so I try to draw analogies between problems that I see in the city and ways that we tend to evaluate problems in healthcare. And it seems like some of the issues that we face with this particular issue map very well onto how symptoms are managed. We in healthcare often think about the frequency, duration, and severity of symptoms when they occur. And some of the solutions that I've offered for this problem, I think, tend to map closely onto that. Frequency. How do we keep these types of structures from appearing in our neighborhoods? How do we implement or support programs that help people stay in homes, help families that might be at risk of losing homes, help elderly people pass that home on to the next generation so it doesn't become a data point that's harming our neighborhood? The duration, for how long these structures remain boarded and a detriment to the neighborhoods where they are found. There's, I'm sure, ways that we could examine the code to cut down on what is right now an unlimited length of time that these structures are allowed to remain a blight in the neighborhood. I can get into specifics, but we can talk offline about that. And then the last point is the severity. How do we decrease the amount of harm that these types of structures tend to produce in neighborhoods? One of the methods that I've discussed previously has been clearboarding, so that when passerbys interact with this space or perceive it in their neighborhood, it has less of a blighted effect, less of a harmful effect. And there's much more to say on that, but I'll keep it short and sweet today. Just wanted to thank council for their interest. Open myself up for any further meetings if anyone is interested in that, so we can advance this issue in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Valerie Bullock. I'm from Ponce Leon in College here, and I want to just talk a bit about Resolution 568. Thank you all for y'all's support. Thank you all for passing it, and we seem to be off to a good start. But based on Tampa history, that's why we have 568, and we need to talk about some little ground rules. We are the Resolution 568 committee, and on the committee, the NAACP, we have a permanent seat on the board. We fought a long uphill battle, and we know it's gonna be people coming want to ride on our coattails after all the hard work have done, and we go into phase 2. Anyway, we're looking forward to partnering with the city chosen members. 568, Resolution 568, we have been meeting and we're not giving up our seats. And no one person shall stack the committee seats. The Resolution Committee is a partnership with the City of Tampa and the Resolution 568 Committee. We are to act in good faith and be transparent, have open, honest, and sometimes painful conversation. That's the only way we are going to remove the barriers that was put in place to harm Black people. We need thoughtful and targeted investments in our community to spur economic growth, fair and obtainable housing. We want keys. It's a difference between affordable and obtainable house. I have 2 houses in my neighborhood that sold for over $600,000. Most of the houses that's being said that they are affordable, they are $450,000. They are affordable for somebody, just not the ones of us who have been in the neighborhood. We also need job training with a measurable outcome. And that outcome would be, do we get a paycheck? If we do, that's some good job training. And we need apprenticeship with the city of Tampa. We need people who love East Tampa and the people of East Tampa. The forgotten people, the ones who were raised in Belma Heights, Jackson Heights, College Hill, and Ponce de Leon. The ones who are still standing after being attacked day in and day out. The ones who the Black and White Black Ordinance was enacted for. The ones who the one strike and public housing policy were enacted for. And the ones who are over-policed. There are numerous unsung heroes and activists in East Tampa who have been pushing others to be the best that they can be, helping others in the neighborhood, and who hold the community together. The ones who don't have a platform, the ones who don't get paid, the ones who are overlooked. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, just change the spokes. We don't want another Black face with a hidden agenda, another puppet or water boy, someone who don't care about East Tampa, or someone who makes money off of our pain. We can remove the barriers if the right people are put in place. It's a sad day when the boys and girls of East Tampa, they're dealing with the same issues I dealt with 50 years ago.
Thank you very much,
That is sad.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Daryl Height. I want to talk also on resolution number 568, which is surprisingly today's staff report number 86. Last time we were down here, I recall one of the councilmen mentioning if there's a way that we can move this agenda a little bit further at the beginning so we wouldn't be down here for the rest of the day as we were last time. So I ask that you please consider that, Mr. Chairman, because, you know, that was a stated request. But I want to talk about today, well, first and foremost, thank you for moving this agenda item forward and this resolution forward. But I want to make some recommendations because I've been listening to last week and we were discussing the amount of people and individuals and those who should be on this commission. I think we may be looking at this thing from a micro perspective. I believe after doing some limited research that we need to have a minimum of 30 people on this commission. And here's why I would state that accordingly. When you look at each one of the 6 points, I'm going to try to rush through them, the 6 areas that need to be addressed. Equity, access, and opportunity in education, employment, healthcare, and housing. You need someone who understands equity and an equity and inclusion consultant, a policy analyst, a community organizer, a data scientist, someone that's part of legal counsel, to address number 2, policies and programs to educate residents about the injustice of slavery and racial discrimination. You need a historian, education specialist, a community organizer, an activist, a cultural competence trainer, someone that's part of legal counsel. For strategies to promote racial neutral policies in education, employment, and healthcare and housing, you need an equity and inclusion consultant, a policy analyst, a community organizer, again, a legal counsel, to address reforms to policing and reduce the racial disparities to ensure community safety. You need a civil rights attorney, a community organizer, a law enforcement expert, a policy analyst, someone who's with the social justice advocate. Policies to eliminate disproportionate mass incarceration and to promote rehabilitation. I would suggest you have a criminal justice reform advocate, a reentry specialist, a policy analyst to protect the right to vote for discrimination based upon race, you need a data analyst, an election administration expert, a political strategist. You need a minimum of 30 people that's going to be able to sit on this commission and look at this thing as if you're working on it from a Scrum project. If you're familiar with Scrum, you cannot bring a handful of people who have limited expertise to work on all these variables. So I'd ask you, please consider that, and even more so, please bring this item before number 86. That's like 8 o'clock tonight.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the council, Dr. Michelle Williams. And I guess I'm going to still remain the moral compass for the group. This morning while I was driving here, it's something that I often say when I'm at church on Sunday. And I always ask God to mold these lips of clay so that the people don't pay attention to the messenger, but listen to the messengers with Christ-filled ears. In the book of Zechariah, the 9th chapter and the 3rd verse, Tyrus built herself up as if she had taken all the silver and the gold, and all the fine dust as it was the mire of the streets. But behold, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she will be devoured by fire. Now let me go on the record to say, for some of those who may be watching at home, the word mire derives from the meaning a situation or a state of difficulty, distress, or embarrassment from which it is hard to eradicate oneself. And that's where we are finding ourselves. We can't eradicate ourselves from a decision that was made 4 years ago to implement a resolution board 568 for the Black community. We all have choices in life, and the choices we make can very well bring wrath upon us by God. Your willingness does not merit sincerity if it doesn't reach those who are desolate and to fulfill the promises that have been made by this board. September the 3rd, 2020. And before I close with you today, allow me to add that none of you will be able to gain salvation through good works, because your best works are not even good enough if your sins outweigh that. And it's a sin before God that 4 years have passed and nothing has been done. It took an activist and a discovery, one who has great passion for this community, to bring this merit forth for us to even have the amount of teeth that we do have in it right now. It is this community. It is these members who have been here every Thursday who should be on that board. Not the same cotton-picking Black people who have no good interest for us. I don't see any of these reverends nor these bishops in East Tampa walking the streets like we do, knocking on doors like we do. I don't know about you, but I done had my ass handed to me several times by God, and it was not a good pleasure. And I don't want to go back on that end. But like I say, I promise you, this is my last time at this podium talking about Resolution 568, because I stand on business and I stand on God. If you need to be sued, that's where I'm headed.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Rishma McCoy. And I echo the same sentiments, 568. Okay, so we have to have balance. We need subject experts. I mean, they broke it down, the gentleman broke it down perfectly. With people with lived expertise, people that have been there, people like me, stage 2, cancer patient, I get it. I had to go through all of that, 19 years living in Sulphur Spring as a homeowner and still not getting the respect of my neighborhood that I need and deserve for me and my family or my community. We don't want to duplicate whatever system that you already have. We need something better, something innovative. You guys are on the front line of change. We want to make sure that you make it happen where we can understand that you mean well for us, okay? You guys are going to set the precedence of something great. So we're not here for no good reason. We need fresh eyes. We need fresh approaches. We need money. I'm asking for $150,000 to start with. Just to start with. You got it. You know, you can't like I've seen y'all throw that money away on tractors. People ask that for boardwalk, for $1 million for, you know, swing sets. I'm seeing people money thrown out. So that's nothing. That's nothing. But to start with, I haven't heard anybody ask for money yet. We need money. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it right. And y'all don't know what that means. Nobody comes to, and I'm always going to talk about health. Nobody comes to Sulphur Springs or you're not going to say, well, let's meet at Sulphur Springs to get dinner tonight. Nobody does that. Let's go to East Tampa and hang out. Nobody does that, okay? So we want to make it a place that's going to be cordial, some place that even you want to show up. Would anybody like to come over to Sulphur Springs to have lunch today, after lunch? No, I didn't think so. Y'all don't want the food boxes, but neither do I. We got to do it right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good morning. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Connie Burton. First of all, just want to say this. Don't ever get my passion confused with my anger. My passion and my commitment is coming here on a Thursday. My anger is expressed when I have to go back to the community and say there has been no deliverables. Nothing that was given to this community week after week. You know, I keep hearing the word wait, but wait give rise to those who have privilege. To the waiters that have to wait for justice, it's just ongoing pain. And we are at the point, whether it was James Brown, James Baldwin, or Dr. King saying, waiting to the oppressed is ongoing suffering. We're saying it is time to move forward. I gave you this memo because I've had the opportunity, unpleasurable, to be represented by 3 good attorneys, Will Knight, Guy Burns, and the late, great Barry Cone. Barry Cone would come in here now and shut it all down, walk through a courthouse and don't even have to go to the podium. They know why he was there. Barry Cone wrote this memo to the chief judge in 2015, said that it is something ugly that is happening as it relates to African Americans. It is something happening with the judiciary and with judges that is so afraid of political fallout. And that is the ongoing lying that put African Americans in harm. We all know it. Our community is suffering from mass incarceration. This city, this county, adjudicate more juveniles to the adult system. We have more black men in our community that committed crimes when they was 18, 40 years old right now, and cannot even pass a level 2 background to get a decent job. Unforgivable. We believe Resolution 568 can start addressing that because we got to have greater advocacy. We have to have those that have the lens of wanting more a political future so the community can understand who represent our interests. Thus far, we are laying in a very depressed situation because what we hear coming from this council that waiting 9 more years or waiting 10 more years for affordable housing is all right. Waiting 9 more years, 10 more years for justice is unacceptable. Resolution 568 has to have the voices of those with lived experience, and as you can see, we are already meeting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Sir? Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
And just not Tampa, Florida. Want to say this, city need 2 things, sensitivity training, and maybe we need all city employees to go to AAA or something, that Alcoholic Anonymous, because it look like the city had a bunch of intoxicated people, look like they drunk before they even get here. And then try to get some kind of special privileges, where when our young people get caught with a nick sack with whatever, stolen bicycle, if it's stolen or if it's not, who cares? Some sunglasses. We got Susan Lopez trying to get free campaign advertising by giving an African woman 30 years, endorsing an African woman getting 30 years. How hateful can you be? But this morning, what I want to do is I want to talk about Adolf Hitler. I want to talk about how much of a great man Adolf Hitler was. And I'm sure when everybody hear that, especially Jewish people, it rubs them the wrong way. They're very sensitive about that. And I, as an African person, I'm very sensitive about certain things. That's right. Very sensitive. You understand? I'm sensitive when I hear the word FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, when I hear those words, when I hear those names. It's just like hearing the word Adolf Hitler to a Jewish person. A bunch of racist clowns, nothing more, nothing less. We as African people, we have to stand up. We have to know what's important. Reparations, capitalism, socialism, communism. Communism is so important now. People don't talk about it, but you hear Rick Scott and DeSantis saying they even gonna put it in the school system. They say they gonna put it in the school system to let you know what it is, not to ever. Capitalism is that strong. They want to take out all kind of sensitivity and diversity programs, but they want to put in how to be a good slave. That's not gonna work. White people have to learn to be more sensitive and more sensitive to our needs. And our needs call for reparations. 568 call for reparations. That's a part of reparations. A lot of black people are scared of the word reparations. Then they say something else. When you say, oh no, this, that, you know, this, that was then, that was. I want to say it now, and I'm going to say it till the day, well, I'm not going to die, so I'm not even going to put that on myself. I want to say it would be said forever. We did not, our ancestors did not work for free. Y'all can keep calling it slavery if you want to. That's work that we got to get paid for. Our kids got to get paid for. Generations in the future got to get paid for. So just do your part and do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Next speaker. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. Resolution 568, the candidates for that board are sitting in this room, so make sure that at least some of the people who showed up every week are part of that. And I hope that Chief Bennett and the other folks from the administration who are here will make sure that there's somebody to watch that board. I want to talk to you about affordable housing this morning. I sat down yesterday morning at 5 a.m. and I did a little bit of research on affordable housing. If somebody wants to tell you that 120% of AMI is affordable housing, that's poop. It's market rate. What I have done here is I've analyzed all the apartment buildings, the apartment complexes that are surrounding my neighborhood. And as you can see, 120% of AMI is $2,007 a month for housing costs. All of these are below that, which means that all of these fall under the affordable umbrella, which means that 7400 Inner Bay, which is a crap project, it was a crap project when you turned it down a year ago, it's a crap project under Live Local, has hoodwinked the city. That means that for the next 30 years, people who want to live in those affordable units that they have set aside will have to go through an application process that the city and city staff will be paid for by the citizens of the city of Tampa. Because you can't just move into an affordable housing unit without applying for it. So these guys have hustled the whole city. I would offer that we need to stop talking about 120% of AMI is affordable housing. It's probably market rate because I live in the middle of some of the most expensive dirt in this city. And this is not affordable. It should not be considered affordable. And we need to make it a definition that if somebody wants to come here and talk about affordable, it need not be in the $80,000 a year for one person range. This is obnoxious, it's ridiculous, and I'm just absolutely offended that, and these are the numbers that are on the website. These do not include that most of these communities are offering a free month's rent on top of this, which further reduces this number. But that application is going to cost us, for the next 30 years, we have to process affordable housing. There's a reason why you unanimously turned down the CRAP project last summer, and there's a reason why I've contacted our state senators about this. There's a reason why I've offered 2 petitions for review, because it's crap. It was crap then, and it's crap now.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Let's call affordable what it really is.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My
Please
name
state
is
your
Barbara
name.
Van Arsdale, and she just struck a nerve in me again. That's why I'm here this morning. 3 years in, my lease was to expire April 1st. I didn't want to renew because I'm living in an inaccessible unit that's very dangerous for me off Florida Avenue. And I was given information on housing affordability units from the City of Tampa Housing Authority last month after I came down here and spoke about the crisis I'm in, desperately needing to find a place before I sign another year that I can't afford to begin with. It's 70% of my Social Security monthly. Not only was I given a list of addresses and told that they have this RMAP program available for me to apply for help, I spent 2 days driving to the properties, and not one of them was in the City of Tampa. I'm sorry, I'm not from Tampa. Why would they give me a list and have me go to these places knowing none of them qualified? When I found out that I had not been given addresses that qualified, I basically had a meltdown and realized this shouldn't have happened. I have studied real estate. It's been my passion, my hobby, years since I was 18. I have never been left in such a loophole with a puzzle with pieces that don't fit in what you're given to work with. A Social Security person my age averages about $1,600 a month from what I've been told in the country. I retired early because I was injured and disabled and had a special needs son to take care of. I could no longer work full-time and manage the companies and work that I did. But on my income monthly, and to pay $1,000 per month plus utilities or anything else, it doesn't make sense. I can't do it. 3 years ago, when pandemic hit, we needed to put rent control in and stop these landlords from raising the rents 25, 50%, whatever they wanted. We're at their mercy. We're now locked out at rates that are unaffordable in the average one-bedroom apartment. I've been told $1,600 to $2,000. Now, on that note, I went back to the drawing board. I found an individual owner in 2 condominiums on Bayshore Boulevard, $1,400 a month approximately, which I could have squeezed into with my money. But at the last minute, the realtor told me you have to fill out the online application, pay a fee. I told her my credit had been ruined from my closing in Fort Lauderdale. She said, it doesn't matter, we'll work with you. They didn't work with me. They left me without an answer for 48 hours. My phone locked. I had no way to contact anyone during the tornado warnings. I went to Sulphur Springs Metro store and spent an hour not getting help. Again, the community is desperate. People scam you. They do not help you. I spent my whole afternoon trying to get a phone that I could no longer afford to buy and had to pick up a man at Mary Beth Union to go with me to negotiate a contract illegally that Metro again sold me.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Chase Bank stopped my account on Sunday saying, listen, these charges don't add up.
Thank you
I'm
very
no
much,
better off, and I'm still looking, and I have an extension until May 1st to sign my lease. I need help. I need someone to give me honest answers on the RMAP application, and if I even qualify, so I can go another step further and not spend another few days driving around and canceling my medical appointments so I can try to find a place to live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, ma'am. All right, if there's no one else in the chambers for public comment, I'm going to go to the registered speakers that are online. We have 5 Mr. Michael Randolph is first. Mr. Randolph, if you can hear me, go ahead and unmute yourself, sir. Mr. Randolph, is he on? Bless you. All right, if not, we'll go to the next speaker and we'll go back to Mr. Randolph. Stephanie Harrison Bailey. Is Stephanie Harrison Bailey on? All right, Stephanie Harrison Bailey, if you're on, please unmute yourself and state your name. Stephanie Harrison Bailey. All right, next we have Chris Curry. Is Chris Curry on? All right, Ed Austin. Is Ed Austin on? Nope. David Bailey. Is David Bailey on?
This is Stephanie Harrison Bailey.
All right, Stephanie Harrison Bailey, please state your name. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Hey there, Stephanie Harrison Bailey. Sorry about the technical difficulties, and I apologize also that I'm driving. I am just speaking briefly today on, I believe, agenda item 85 regarding parking lot code changes for Ybor City. First, I know that Abby and the rest of city staff have been working their butts off to get all of these changes drafted and implemented, and I just want to give them a huge thank you. I really appreciate all the work that they've been doing. And 80% of the drafted language, I would say that our neighborhood really agrees with. Unfortunately, there's some things that have wiggled their way in to these changes that don't make any sense to us as a neighborhood. Number one, it appears that staff wants to reset the clock for these non-conforming parking lots in Ybor, meaning that although the code was originally implemented in 2010, they're going to give these surface lots an additional amount of time to come into compliance, which to us as residents don't make any sense. We're basically saying, yes, we know you've been not in code for a long time, and we've also been talking about this for 2 years where you knew that you weren't in code, but we're going to give them additional time. Whereas, as an interesting counterpoint, we've had many local businesses red tagged lately for being out of code compliance with no warning or anything like that. So it just seems like the city is not quite playing fair with parking lot operators versus actual businesses who are bringing things into the neighborhood that the neighbors actually want. And then second, there doesn't really seem to be any enforcement language in this code. So as you guys, I'm sure all know by this time, one of the problems that we've had with these parking lot code is that there's really no way to enforce the code. So we would just like to see some pretty clear enforcement language from the city so that you guys are going through the effort of making these updates, which are great, but if there's no way to enforce them, what's the point? So just wanted to point all of that out. And again, I don't want to make city staff go back to the drawing board completely, but I think we're 80% of the way there, but there's just a few things that the public is really questioning, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is David Bailey on? Mr. Bailey, David Bailey, if you could unmute yourself.
I did unmute myself, if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead. Please state your name, sir.
David Bailey. I live in historic Ybor City. Also speaking today to address item 85 on today's agenda. And as Stephanie just mentioned, I applaud the progress that staff has made on the topics of parking lot security, annual operation plans, and restrictions for future parking lots in our historic neighborhood. That said, I do want to call attention to some serious concerns that Stephanie alluded to. So the first one, let's talk about the clock. It appears that staff is resetting the clock for non-conforming parking lots in Ybor. And in case you didn't know, the code was changed in 2010, requiring lots to comply within 6 months of the code change, and they have not done so for 14 years. And staff, in my opinion, is ignoring the code's direction for non-conforming lots and allowing their continued use. It's major issues. Second, as Stephanie said, a lack of enforcement language. Nowhere in the proposed language is there any enforcement language. So operators haven't complied for 14 years. Why would they assume that they're going to comply in the future? The code needs to be much more specific on daily fines or closing lots that refuse to comply. Lastly, and I must bring this to your attention, and it's near and dear to my heart because I know the historic preservation staff very well, that they have been rubber stamping parking lot plans that they do not have the authority to do without public notice and without a public hearing. This rubber stamping directly contradicts the standards that are explicit in the code. It circumvents due process required by the code, and this is a very serious breach of public trust for historic Ybor, and it needs to be looked into. Tampa only has one National Historic Landmark District, and our neighborhood has been waiting decades for the city to repair the damage done by these non-conforming parking lots. These lots are a massive drain on our tax base. They bring violent crime, noise, trash to our doorsteps. Ask yourself this: would you want this next to your house? Because this is a plague on Ybor City. In closing, I would really ask city staff to do a better job of communicating and working with historic Ybor Neighborhood Civic Association and close the gaps that enable parking operators to damage our neighborhood. Please stand up for our National Landmark Historic District. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. Michael Randolph on? Good morning, Mr. Randolph. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa CDC. Today, I want to talk about the West Tampa CDC approach to reducing gentrification, increasing public safety, and building wealth. The vehicle that we use is known as a social capitalism model that combines market-based principles with social welfare policies that connect marginalized residents to wealth and income. We use a three-pronged approach. The first is economic development. Under economic development, we have our home-based e-commerce initiative that create wealth for the limited income and those with criminal records using artificial intelligence. The second component moves limited income residents from consumers to investors by equipping them with the tools to invest with little money. The next component is social development, reducing the school to prison hit count by creating economic opportunities for the hardcore youth as well as the at-risk youth, and finally, affordable housing. How do we do this? We use what's known as sustainable financial model. This is a combination of earned income, charitable contributions, and public sector subsidies. The earned income is used to pursue social objectives by substantially seeking both financial and social return on investment. In other words, we keep money in the community. What are the benefits? To government, it's an increase in tax base in terms of the businesses that we're going to create. It reduces risk to investors as well as lenders. It also reduces resources to improve the quality of life of residents. We're saying this because we want to be part of both the Community Benefit Committee as well as proposed Resolution 568, because what we bring to the table is the ability to leverage monies that the city cannot leverage. We're watched around the country because we're doing this with no paid staff, no money in the program, the budget for program, and no physical office. We're doing this with our different partners from the public-private relationship. What we bring to the table is the ability to leverage funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody else registered that's on? That concludes public comment. Yes.
Based on the feedback just now, I think we should continue item 85 for a couple weeks.
80. 85, hold on a second.
That's the one that
The
they were just
parking
talking about the parking, yeah. I mean, you may want to get staff to weigh in on it, but
Let's give them a chance to, we'll bring it up, so,
thank you.
you're the last public speaker.
Thank you very much, Council. Happy to see you this morning. Linda Saul, Senna, 157 Biscayne. I'm here to comment on three things. The parking in Ybor. I am here as a historical marker. Let me say, we were working on this 15 years ago, and there were lots of excuses why these lots were temporary and didn't require regulation and landscaping. So I encourage you to move forward on that issue. Secondly, in today's Creative Loafing, there's a large article on trees and the city's tree canopy, and I encourage, and we're losing it. 3% citywide, 6% in South Tampa. I encourage Tampa City Council, as you move ahead in developing the budget for next year, to increase funding for parks and recreation because they have inadequate staff to do all the maintenance that is required to protect our beautiful tree canopy. And lastly, I apologize for having to go to a Design Week event in VM Ybor neighborhood, but I was here to speak on the public hearing on the library, and I represent the Tampa Center for Architecture and Design. We support this very much, and thank you all for considering. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Vieira, Public Safety Committee.
Yes, sir. I move items
6 through 14.
6 through 14.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Vieira. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes, for Parks. For Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee, I move items 15 through 21.
Second. We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Hurtak?
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I have several that I need to recuse myself from today.
Wait, is it in this committee?
2022.
Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just, I'll submit the form later, but my firm works with a company related to this, and although my firm does not work on any projects related to the city of Tampa, in abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself.
All right, we'll do a separate vote on item number 22. Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes, I move items number 23, 24, 25, and 27.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak with a second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then a separate vote. Does he have to step out for? No? Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll
for-
move item 22.
Wait. Okay.
Okay. I move item 22.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak on item number 22 with a second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Henderson? Yes. Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda? Carlson? Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining and Miranda absent at vote.
Very good. All right. Item 28 through 35, Councilmember Vieira.
So move.
We have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Councilmember Carlson, everything except 44. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I need to abstain from 44 for the same reasons, although my firm does not work with any projects related to the city of Tampa. In abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself because we have a client that's distantly affiliated with this.
All right.
So I'll move 36 through 43.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then now for a separate vote, Councilmember Clendenin, would you mind reading 44?
I thought this was being pulled.
No, it's a separate vote.
I have it. Oh, okay.
No,
Maybe
no.
I'm wrong. Because
I
it
move
went
up-
with item 57.
I move item 44.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin to move just 44, second from Councilmember Clendenin, roll call vote. Clendenin and then
Miranda.
Did
We
I
look
say-
alike.
Did I say Clendenin twice?
Yes.
Sorry.
My younger
Clendenin
brother,
made the
Miranda.
motion, Councilmember Miranda did the second. Roll call vote.
Carlson? Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Yes. Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Very good. Councilmember Clendenin, 45 through 54.
What was some of
Wait, 45 through 52.
52,
I'm sorry,
right,
because we
okay.
pulled the 53 and 4.
I move items 45 through 52.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
53 and 54 will be heard later on under staff reports, so we'll go back to those. Councilmember Miranda, would you mind setting item 55 for the public hearing?
Item number 55 for public hearing, Mr. Chairman, scheduled Tampa City Council.
Wait, that is an actual public hearing. I'm sorry, we're not setting it.
No, you're setting it. That's on the consent. Just move it.
That's
Okay.
consent, move item 55.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I see the date here. I'm sorry. All right. We're going to break for lunch at 12 o'clock. I wanted to announce that at this time. May I have a motion to open all the public hearings? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public hearings are open. The first few are non-quasi judicial, so item number 56 and 57, Councilmember Carlson's going to be abstaining from, and
Yeah, for-
also 58. But
Yeah, for the same reasons, 56, 57, and 58. My business does not do any business related to the city of Tampa. However, we have a client that is distantly related to this, and so I'm going to, out of abundance of caution, recuse myself on 56, 57, 58.
And just a reminder that number 58 is in fact 2 votes, one on the second reading of the ordinance, and the other is on the resolution.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 56 is a second reading. Who is here to present on that? Do we have anybody online for that? No? Go ahead,
Good
sir.
morning, Council. Good morning, Council. This is Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Today we're presenting second reading for TACPA 2305, a map amendment pertaining to multiple parcels located between East Ross Avenue and East 7th Avenue in the Tampa Heights Urban Village. This request is to change approximately 5.22 acres from Community Commercial 35 to Urban Mixed Use 60. Council voted to approve this request at your hearing on March 21st and is back before you today for second reading consideration. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? No? Thank you very much. Do we have an applicant for this? If not, yes, sir, Mr. Hudson?
Tyler Hudson, 400 Ashley Drive. For the record, thank you for your support. We have no presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody in the public wish to speak on item number 56? Item number 56, there are no registered speakers. Anybody here to speak? Nope. Can we get a motion to close? Motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading item number 56?
Thank you, Chairman. File number 66, file number TACPA 23/05. Ordinance being for second reading consideration. An ordinance amending the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 110 East Oak Avenue, 205 North Tampa Street, 1813 North Franklin Street, 1708 Florida Avenue, 106 Palm Avenue, and folio number 192-338.0000 from Community Commercial 35, /CC 35 to Urban, and folio number 192-338.0000 from Community Commercial 35, CC 35 to Urban Mixed Use 60, UMU 60, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date, continue from June 22nd, 2023 to October 12th. It went on and on and on.
All right,
But
you're
it's
good.
here.
We have a motion and we have a second from Councilmember Vieira. Please record your vote. I'm sorry, somebody missing? Oh.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining from vote.
All right. Let's go with item number 57.
Los Angeles Development Coordination.
presenting file number VAC 23-20 for second reading. This is a proposed vacating request to vacate a portion of Franklin Street and alley lying north of Oak Avenue, south of Palm Avenue, east of Tampa Street, and west of Florida Avenue. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? And real quick, we covered already item 44, correct? On that separate vote? Yes. Yes, okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Hudson.
Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. For the record, thank you for your support. We have no presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions? No? All right. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 57? We have nobody registered. All right. Motion closed from Councilmember Condon, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading 57?
Yes, sir. I move an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning all rights of way, including alleyways within the block located at north of Oak Avenue, south of Palm Avenue, east of Tampa Street, and west of Florida Avenue, within the plat of Highland Park First Edition subdivision in the City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida, as more fully described in Section 2 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions, as more particularly set forth herein, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations, providing for conditions, precedent, definitions, interpretation, repealing conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion for Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have our quasi-judicial public hearings. If you're going to speak on any of the public hearings from 58 to 66, please stand, raise your right hand, and we'll swear you in. Okay, item number 58.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Council, item 58 is before you this morning for second reading. This is REZ 2382. This is for the properties located at 110 East Oak Avenue, 2005 North Tampa Street, 813 North Franklin Street, 1708, 1905, and 1909 North Florida Avenue, 106 East Palm Avenue, and folio 192-338.0000. This is a request to rezone the property from CICG and RM24 to PD Plan Development. This would allow for the uses of storefront residential, all commercial general uses on site. And the site plan required modifications to be made between first and second reading. Those changes have been made. The plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? No? All right, do we have an applicant for 58? Yes, sir, please state your name.
Evening, Council. Tyler Hudson. Evening. It's morning. Good morning. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. For the record, appreciate your support. We made all requested changes. Thanks.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 58?
Motion closed.
We have nobody registered. We have motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Henderson, would you mind reading 58?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Good morning. File number REZ 2382, an ordinance being presented for second reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 110 East Oak Avenue, 2005 North Tampa Street, 1813 North Franklin Street, 1708, 1905, and 1909 North Florida Avenue, 106 East Palm Avenue, and folio number 19-2338-0000 in the City of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from Zoning District Classification, CI Commercial Intensive, CG Commercial General, and RM24 Residential Multifamily to PD Plan Development Storefront Residential Commercial, all commercial general uses, retail sales, shoppers goods, club, recreational facility commercial, hotel, business, professional office, and commercial parking, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Can I move the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. After, wait, no, after that.
Motion carried with Vieira voting no and Carlson abstaining from vote.
Councilmember Henderson, would you like to move the resolution?
Yes, do you read the resolution
No, you
or just move it? Move the resolution, sir.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Motion carried with, unanimously with Carlson abstaining from vote.
All right, item number 59.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 59 is REZ 2390. This is for the property located at 4075 Henderson Boulevard. This request is to rezone the property from CG to PD Plan Development. This is to allow for a restaurant use. This request is a site plan controlled PD plan. There were no site plan modifications required to be made, but we do have site plan certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? No? Is there an applicant for 59? Yes, sir. Please come on up and state your name.
Your Honor, Scott Stigall, on behalf of the applicant. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Any
Otherwise,
questions? Nope. All right, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 59? We have a motion closed from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, would you mind reading 59?
I move file number REZ 2390, an ordinance being presented for second reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4075 Henderson Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification CG Commercial General to PD Plan Development Restaurant, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin with a second from Councilman Vieira. Please record your vote.
We got something going on with the votes.
Yeah, and go ahead now. I would have to reset.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 60.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 60 is REZ 23105. This item is before you for second reading. This is for the properties located at 100 and 204 North Westshore, 253 Westshore Boulevard, 298 and 347 Westshore Plaza. The request is to rezone the property from PD to PD. This is to allow for retail sales, residential multifamily, hotel, motel, and all CG uses on site. The site plan required modifications to be made between first and second reading. Those changes have been made. The plan has been certified and provided to the clerk, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Sure. Truett Gardner, 400 North Ashley Drive. We had three kind of items coming out of the last council meeting that I wanted to report back on. One, the revision sheet. Wanted to thank LaShawn and her team. The revisions were extensive, but they've all been made. Secondly, Councilwoman Henderson directed us to reach out to Carver City, which we did. Lisa Callahan with WPG is here, spoke with Rhonda Campbell, had a very good conversation with her, and is actually going to go to their meeting this summer, which will be in person. So that call was made, and meeting happened via Zoom, so I wanted to report back to you on that. And then third, I had a delightful time working with Mark Miller with Beach Park on the, it was note 34, dealing with the decel lanes. And we came up with language and modified that note. They are satisfied with that. I did want to report two things. I think Mark is on his way, might not make it in time, but two things that I told him I'd report. One is that we will continue to work with Beach Park on this effort. And then secondly, Mark picked up the site plan where the decel lanes is shown uses the word potential. And I explained to him the reason why that word is potential is not that they're going to happen, not going to happen, and we're trying to shirk our responsibility. It would just have to go through Hillsborough County and DOT to get approved, and we don't know exactly what those dimensions are going to be. And so as a result, Kimley Horn put potential on the site plan, but I believe the note covers that, and they're satisfied with that, but I did tell him I would state that on the record.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 60? We have nobody registered. We have motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Second, Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hurtak.
Yes. File number REZ 23-105, ordinance being presented for second reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 100 and 204 North Westshore, 253 Westshore Boulevard, and 298 and 347 Westshore Plaza in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification PD Plan Development to PD plan development, retail sales, commercial general uses, office, business or professional, office, medical, residential, multifamily, hotel or motel, restaurant, recreational facility, commercial, indoor, vehicle repair, major and minor, college and school, parking off-street principal use, nursing, convalescent and extended care facility, clinic, hospital, place of assembly, restaurant, drive-in. It's like a whole city, providing an effective date.
Everything but a theme park.
Yep.
We have a motion from
Oh, there's entertainment
Councilmember. Motion from Councilmember Hurtak and second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is item number 61.
Thank you, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 61 is file REZ 23116. This is for the property at 205 North Albany Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RM16 to RM18. This is a Euclidean request, so no site plan is associated with this request. And this item is before you for second reading. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Steve McElhaney, I'm here on behalf of the petitioner to respectfully request your approval. It is Euclidean rezoning, so there are no waivers or PD site plan associated with this.
All right. Any questions? No. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 61?
Motion closed.
We have a motion closed from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Carlson?
It's a,
61? No. Please read it.
yeah. I'd like to move item number 61, file number REZ 23-116. Ordinance being presented for second reading, consideration ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 205 North Albany Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to RM18 residential multifamily, providing effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
Item number 62.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 62 is REZ 2401. This is for the property at 2302 and 2304 North Boulevard. The request is to rezone the property from RS60 to PD Plan Development to allow for residential, single-family, semi-detached uses on site. The site plan has been modified with changes required between first and second reading. The plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? Nope. All right. Do we have an applicant for 62? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Yes, my name is Angela Halber with Hillward Henderson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard. For the record, here for the petitioner. If you have questions, we're happy to respond.
Any questions? All right. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 62? I see no one. We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading item 62? Sorry.
Second reading consideration on ordinance rezoning property general vicinity of 2302, 2304 North Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS60, residential single-family to PD plan development, residential single-family detached, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 63.
Thank you, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 63 is file REZ 2407. This is for the property at 1101 West Sligh Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RS50 to PD, Plan Development. This is for commercial off-street parking for Zoo Tampa. Site plan modifications were required to be made between first and second reading. Those changes have been made. The plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? All right. Is there an applicant here for 63? Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning. Andrew Pupke with Envision Advisors representing the petitioner, Zoo Tampa.
Any questions? Nope. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on item number 63?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Vieira, 63.
Yes, sir. And by the way, this has nothing to do with this hearing, but I will say it was Zoo Tampa's special needs internship that inspired and we saw this morning, so way to go, Zoo Tampa. Y'all do great work. Move ordinance being presented for second reading consideration ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 1101 West Sligh Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD plan development, commercial off-street parking, providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice day. Item number 64. Mr. Fernandez.
Good morning, Council. Dennis Fernandez, Architects Review and Historic Preservation Manager. Very excited to be here this morning on the proposed landmark designation of the John F. Germany Library, an iconic building in our downtown landscape. Before we begin the presentation, I wanted to take a moment and just thank the various community stakeholders who have really supported this. This was a community-driven effort, beginning with Amy Espinosa and Elena Ketchum, who really brought this property to the foreground for consideration and designation. The Genuine family and the Friends of the Library all supported us and provided assistance in getting the designation before you today. And then also our thanks to Mayor Castor. This is a city-owned property, and her commitment to preserving the properties that are historically significant in our city. With that, I want to introduce a fresh face to preservation. That is Heather Bonds, newer member to our staff, who is going to run you through the eligibility and the recommendation this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Heather Bonds, Historic Preservation Specialist, and I am presenting today on the John F. Germany Library and its criteria for nomination of a local landmark.
All right, go ahead.
All right, the application was initiated by the City of Tampa and authorized by the mayor on September 15th, 2023. It has been reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission, and they found that it meets the criteria of Chapter 27-257. Local designation is an important tool to promote and preserve Tampa's unique physical history, and it provides a review process for any changes to the landmark. The library is located between West Taylor Street and West Cass Street, facing North Ashley Drive. The auditorium is directly to the rear, and the Hillsborough River is to the west. This picture from 1921, which looks east, and this section of the 1915 Sanborn map show the historic block of the existing library outlined, it was outlined in red. The residential dwellings that made up the block are shown on the Sanborn map, which indicates the block was made of wood frame, one-story structures with open front porches. The picture in the Sanborn map, from the picture in the Sanborn map, is determined that this block was completely residential, sandwiched between the lumber yard and the Hillsborough River to the west and the emerging city to the east. According to the 1915 Polk City Directory, the homes along Ashley Drive, you see those 3 two-story buildings right in front of the white building, they were owned by black residents. 902 Ashley by Mary James, a widowed cook, 904 Ashley by Samuel Edwards, a porter, and 908 Ashley by Maria C. Murray, a cook. Tampa's first library came by way of the Carnegie Foundation, who bestowed a grant to Tampa to build a library in 1912. As the city grew, individual library branches opened to serve different parts of the city. However, the need for a new central library became apparent. But first, a new location needed to be selected. As the area evolved away from industrial uses and downtown became more defined as an office and commerce area, the city looked to highlight the Hillsborough River as a unique asset within the city. A riverfront urban renewal project was initiated to modernize development along the library. the library location was selected to connect the northern end of the planned riverfront complex to surrounding shopping, transportation, and parking. As the first structure planned as part of the Riverfront Urban Renewal Project, the library is a physical reminder of how Tampa has placed an importance of incorporating local culture into future land planning. Raising money to build the library was another concern. In 1960, local judge John Germany was elected as president of Friends of the Library, a group charged to plan the development and the funding of the library. The committee was comprised of other civic leaders in Tampa and supported by the Tampa City Council. Mr. Germany spearheaded a funding source by proposing a cigarette tax bond issue. The total construction cost was $3.2 million, including grant and taxed money. It opened on April 21st, 1968. Tampa had also received a grant to upgrade library training, add specialized sections, and increase pay scales. The new Tampa Public Library opened as the first fully integrated library serving all of Tampa's citizens regardless of race. It offered resources and programs targeted to all races, genders, and ages. For example, to encourage teens to visit the library, the Youth Services Department sponsored Friday night rock concerts. The Summer of 1969 series featured local bands and DJs attracting up to 1,500 local teens per concert. 2 firms were selected to design the library: McLean, Rannon, McIntosh, and Bernito, and McElvey and Genuine. McElvey and Genuine was based in Tampa. They designed many structures in Tampa and throughout Florida in a modern style similar to the styling that they employed on the Tampa Public Library, with large overhangs and cantilevered projections and heavy concrete panels. Similar to the library, the styling typifies the mid-century architecture movement and physical appearance and raw utilitarian feel of each structure. The John Germany Library is a pristine example of the mid-century modern style in Tampa, with notable architectural details including large concrete pillars, a wide arcade, vertical travertine panels, glass multi-story windows, and a wraparound honeycomb exterior feature on the top floor. The broad horizontal form is a typical mid-century design component. There are several styling sub-styles within mid-century designs. Described as brutalistic, this sub-style lacks decoration in favor of visually obvious materials. Concrete is the most common material used in brutalistic architecture. As one of the strongest building materials, it can uphold against extreme weather, which is ideal for structures preserving archival materials. The exterior panels are Roman travertine, used for over 2,500 years in Italy for government and public buildings. The honeycomb hive Brise Soleil, which tops the library, provides architectural interest while providing a protective sun and heat barrier to the archive collection held on the 4th floor. This delicate form breaks up the strong visual impact of the concrete panels below. The hexagon adds a geometric element, which is also common to mid-century architecture. It also visually marries the auditorium and the library buildings with this common geometric element. Gus Paris and Angel Leva Jr., associate architects with McElvey and Genuine, co-designed the auditorium. With a small but visually significant area to work with, they wanted the auditorium to have an independent but complementary design to the library. The honeycomb feature was utilized to connect the 2 structures while allowing natural light into the otherwise windowless auditorium. The Tropicana nightclub in Havana served as inspiration for the auditorium's multi-oval design. It was designed by Mac Borges Jr., the most well-known architect of Cuban modernist architecture. Borges worked with Felix Candela, a structural engineer from Mexico who specialized in lightweight concrete parabolic designs used in the Tropicana Club and Club Nautico in Cuba. Angel Leva Jr. stated admiration and design inspiration from both Candela and Borges' designs, which is evident in the simplified version of the auditorium. On November 1st, 1999, the Tampa Public Library was renamed to honor John F. Germany. A longtime civic leader in Tampa, Mr. Germany helped secure the original funding for the modern library in the 1960s. He had served as a combat Army tank commander in World War II, attended the University of Florida, and received his law degree from Harvard Law School. He practiced law in Tampa until he was appointed as a circuit judge. In 1966, he returned to practice law as a partner in Knight, Jones, Whitaker in Germany. The firm merged with another firm, and Mr. Germany became a founding partner to one of the nation's most prestigious law firms, Holland & Knight. As a local lawyer, he aided in the legislation to establish the University of South Florida. The application was submitted by the city's Historic Preservation Office after we received a community petition to landmark it. It went through the code-required process and has been publicly noticed. The HPC recommended that City Council adopt an ordinance to landmark the library and auditorium, and the Planning Commission found this recommendation consistent with the comp plan. Staff and the HPC found the proposed landmark nomination is consistent with 27-257, particularly that it meets criteria A, B, and C of the National Register of Historic Places criteria, as it is associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of our history in the areas of community planning and development, the Riverfront Urban Renewal Project. It is associated with lives of persons significant to our past, with John Germany, and it embodies the distinctive characteristics of type, period, or method of construction, the area of architecture, specifically mid-century brutalistic architecture. Staff respectfully recommends that City Council approve the designation of the John F. Germany Public Library and Auditorium as a local historic landmark based on meeting this criteria. In closing, I want to thank those that supported bringing this application forward, including Mayor Castor, Amy Espinosa, Elena Ketchum, and the Friends of the Library who've assisted in providing source material and photos. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I learned a lot of new things that I didn't know. This is one of my favorite places in Tampa. It's interesting, when you showed the sign of the construction, it said Mayor Nick C. Nucio, and inside the lobby there's I guess it's marble, but it's a marker showing 1967, Nick Nucio mayor, and the city council members. One of the city council members being Dick Greco in his first term, who became mayor within a few months. And by the time that library was dedicated, he beat Nucio and he was mayor. But yeah, it's you said it all. I mean, it's a significant mid-century modern design. It's one of many variations. I don't know where the images are. I saw them years ago, but it went through very, very different proposals until this was selected and chosen. Again, I'm glad that we're doing this historic designation. So, Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Miranda, Councilmember Vieira. No? Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I'm really excited about this. I think the whole council received an invitation to do an architecture tour several months ago, and it was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It was a perfect day for it, and we got to see all of the different architectural significance about this building. And modern architecture, especially sort of the brutalistic, is one of my absolute favorite types of architecture. So this was such an amazing tour, and the way that the library has retained that architectural style and everything that goes on in that library is just absolutely amazing. I'm absolutely thrilled to be that this is going forward and that we're going to be able to protect such an important piece of Tampa history, especially since we don't have that many buildings in this particular style in the city of Tampa. It's more known down in Miami for sure, but I'm just really excited about this one.
Councilmember Vieira, Henderson, Clinton.
Thank you very much, and great presentation. With John F. Germany, I remember one time going to Valencia Gardens and seeing him having lunch with Sam Gibbons, his dear friend, and he was you went over a lot of his life from Plant City, World War II combat veteran, Holland and Knight. There are certain attorneys in the Hillsborough County Bar Association who are like citizen lawyers, you know what I mean? And he was just such a citizen lawyer. People like him, his dear friend Sam Gibbons, former Congressman Jim Davis, State Senator Arthena Joyner, Delano Stewart, great people like that who are attorneys but make such a monumental change in the civic area, and John F. Germany was like that. And it's great to see this library continue to be preserved. I'm a big book guy, and I think these things have ruined our minds. So it's ruined a little bit of mine, not as much as maybe as it could. But yeah, books are very important. So thank you for your work, and again, great presentation.
Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. Can you go back to the slide that had the homes? I really, really appreciate your presentation and the historical significance of even pointing out the homes that were near that area. Right there, those 3 homes, 2-story houses owned by African Americans. That particular neighborhood, did it have a specific name? Was that called the, do you know? I remember hearing that it was called the Bottom. That's the word.
Okay.
Yeah, that I was looking for. So I was just wondering if that area was considered, because I know it came all the way up to where Armature Works is today.
Yes, these structures here at the bottom, that was all part of the lumber yard, which stretched across, and I'm sure a lot of the workers worked for that local lumber yard at the time.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I just really appreciate that, especially knowing that building this, a library like this of significance, we integrated the population. There is a library over in Tampa Heights, and it says free library, and every time I pass by it, I always say to myself, African Americans were not allowed to go to that library. And so this is really nice to know that the one that is the most significant in our community was integrated right away. The architecture of this library has stood out to me. I love visiting it, and so for you to give us that information, that background, is greatly appreciated, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Henderson brings up a good question, because Madam Fortune Taylor of the Madam Fortune Taylor Bridge owned about 30 acres of property, like where the Straz is at and in that vicinity. I wonder if these were her properties. She died in 1906, and the properties, were sold off over time, and I wonder if this is part of that. So that's something for me to research. Councilmember Clendenin.
Well, you learn something every day that you like brutalist architecture. I didn't know anybody liked brutalist architecture. Then you just must be tingly when you walk across that monstrosity across the brick pavement there. Oh my God, that's the most hideous building I've ever seen in my entire life. I'll take your word for it. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Question though, not to throw damp rags on things, but libraries are changing and evolving with new technologies and how we, I don't know what the library of 20 years from now is going to look like. When we designate this as historic, does it tie our hands for redevelopment if we had to evolve to different technologies or, different ways of providing the library services at this location? Or if we felt like the best use of this property was maybe something different, repurposing and doing something different with it, what does this designation do to that?
So the designation process adds a review process into it. So any nominations that would come forward or applications for changes, including demolition, would have to go in front of the HPC or the ARC to review those changes. So there is that review process that would be mandated for any changes that would come before the library, about the library.
And that process only takes into consideration the historic aspect. They don't ever take into consideration anything else other than that, right?
The appropriateness of the change. So they would consider what's being proposed and is it appropriate to the sites.
For historic purposes, not for...
I'd say that the libraries are evolving as well. When I was researching this library, they offer all sorts of new programs. They have things like 3D model makers, they have sewing classes. So I think libraries are becoming more community-based with what they offer. It's not just books anymore.
I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what that's going to look like. I have no idea, and I don't know what the constraints of the physical building will look like for what a library will be in 20 or 30 or 40 years from now. And what is the life expectancy of this physical structure of this building? Do y'all consider that too?
I don't usually give life expectancy to buildings, but it is made out of concrete and Roman travertine, which is two of the sturdiest materials that there are out there. So it could probably withstand a pretty Cat 4 hurricane, but it was made to last. They actually called it, the architects called it the Taj Mahal of libraries. So I think the life expectancy was intended to be in Tampa for a long period of time.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, I'm glad that through this, we're also continuing to honor Judge Germany. I didn't know him well. I met him a lot of times, like I think my colleagues. I knew him mainly through Bill McBride, who was a friend and mentor. And I think that Dennis might know this, but I think that McBride was one of the people that helped push to honor Judge Germany. And it's interesting how time goes by, and you realize that people have been gone a long time, and you need to continue to acknowledge them. I love mid-century modern buildings and architecture, and I absolutely think we should protect it. There's another one, the First United Methodist Church that's now the portico. That building is spectacular. The Brulis architecture, I guess City Hall, the school district building, you know, the City Hall in Boston. So hopefully in 20 or 30 years, people will love those buildings. But we'll see. In East Germany and other places where they built a lot of it, they're repurposing those. So anyway, the last thing I want to ask, Dennis, can I ask you a question? Because you were around back then, as I recall, the back half of this building, the last mayor sold it to a developer, and it's now a huge condo right in front of the Strass Center. Was that part of it not considered historic? And the second half of the question, you can answer at the same time. We've had historic buildings in places like that buildings in places that were on the National Historic Registry, but were torn down anyway by prior administrations. Will what we're doing today protect this building going forward? And what steps would somebody have to go through if they want to convert it to a condo like they did the back half of it? Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Fernandez, Architecture Review and Historic Preservation Manager. At the time when the annex was demolished, there was obviously no designation on the property, so that wasn't reviewed from a historic preservation standpoint. That really, and I think you'll hear the speakers talk about how that became the catalyst for this initiative, and the concern over this particular resource grew based on that demolition. Now that a building would be designated potentially, that would become the highest form of protection that the city has for built structures. National Register designations are very different. They're intended to bring recognition and historical focus on historic resources, both at a state and federal level. However, they bring little in the form of protection, and that's, I think, what you were referring to. That's why we exist, and that's why we spend most of our times advocating for protection through local ordinances, because that brings the highest degree of protection. Any type of work that's done on the building, particularly the exterior of the building, would have to be reviewed in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards, and if there was going to be some type of modification of a significant nature or demolition to a designated property at the local level, then there's a very rigorous process before either the Architecture Review Commission, the Barrio Latino Commission, that then comes into play.
Thank you so much for the detailed response. I want to throw out two other names. It sounds like the speakers are going to talk as well. Linda Salcena, who was here earlier, has been a huge advocate for saving buildings like this. And Jan Platt, I remember having conversations with her when she was concerned about the building going behind it. And just want to thank all of those past leaders for their work in helping preserve these buildings.
Thank you.
Councilman Miranda, did you want to say anything?
No, I just want to reminisce a little bit. It's a beautiful building, and if I remember when I was a young man, remember years ago, right close to that, there was Jackson Grain. Can you imagine now, this time, having a grain company right close to it, and it was Swift and Company, Wilson and Company were meat packers, and they were right by the river. So these are the things I remember when we used to go see the Tampa Smokers play against the Miami Hurricanes or the Sun Sox or whoever it was, an A-League baseball, the Cuban team used to come in to play from Havana. And it was a wonderful thing to walk around at that time in history. The only thing that's there now that I remember was a railroad track. That's still there. So other than that, everything has changed other than this building that was survived somehow to the 60s, the 50s, and then through what it is today. That's a beautiful thing, and certainly no one deserves more than the individual who's named after John Germany. So I want to thank you and your staff and everyone involved in the cities to do this. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes, ma'am? Oh, we're going to go to public comment? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Amy Espinosa. 7 years ago, I was outraged, and the reason why is because I found out through an article with a quote from Linda Salcena that the annex was going to be demolished. That's kind of when this started for me. this journey to, quote, save the library. And that's what brings me in front of you here today, because I believe these buildings are wonderful too. Annex, not so much. I don't think that that was a great loss, although I would have preferred his affordable housing to go in. But beyond that, I want to first personally thank Mayor Castor, because without her support, we wouldn't be here today. I also want to thank Heather Bonds and Dennis. They have done a fantastic job and been great advocates helping us push this through. Also, the Genuine family, Oliva family, and Paris families. Some of the photographs that you saw came from the Genuine archive. So all of those families have been really great in supporting this effort. In my heart, I believe that you all agree too, and now I feel even stronger that this the John F. Germany Library and Auditorium would be a tragic loss for our community. So I just want to emphasize the importance today of preserving these buildings, because I believe in proactive preservation. We need to adopt a more holistic approach and look at historically significant buildings long before they're in danger. The reason for this is because it protects our culture, the evolution of our city, the stories and the culture that connect people to these places. And as we age, they still stand so we can remember them instead of aging in a city that we no longer recognize. And I believe today is a perfect day to start. So I will keep it short. Bringing awareness doesn't save this building. Landmarking it gives us a much better opportunity to make sure that it's here for the future. So I ask you today to vote in favor of designating the John F. Germany as a local library and auditorium as a local landmark, so that we might preserve it for future generations. Thank you, council members.
Thank you very much. Yes, next speaker. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Gigi Genuine. I live at 1215 East Clifton Street. I'm here as a representative of the Genuine family. I am Jim Genuine's daughter as well. I am a recently returned resident to Tampa. I've been gone for over 45 years from the city that I was moved to when I was 3 years old in 1960. I find myself regularly being moved by evidence of my parents, both my father's and my mother's, efforts to preserve, to promote, and to advance the arts and culture in Tampa. Not just the library building, but the Strass Center, the Tampa Museum of Art, Ybor City, and the streetcar, to name just a few of those efforts that my parents were involved in. This building, this library, is not only architecturally significant, as others have pointed out, but it historically serves as a representation of those, the many, who devoted themselves to establishing Tampa as the world-class city that, upon returning 45 years later, I am now seeing it becoming. I am proud to be back here and proud to be part of the city once again. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Bruce Gibson, 1227 East Henry Avenue in Tampa, and I'm here to offer my support for designating this building for historic landmark status. I think it's important both for its cultural and social significance as well as for the architecture. And socially, when I moved here in 1989 from Orlando, that other city, I eventually went to USF and got a master's degree in architecture. But long before that, one of the first things I did when I moved to Tampa was find out where the main library was so that I could get a card. That's not anything special. That's something that thousands of people in this city did before me and have done after me. I think that's got to be a big part of the importance of this, both as an institution and as a building. Architecturally, I agree with the presentation. There's been so much said about it. I would say that mid-century modern is a really big category, but some of the features, one that I didn't hear spoken of was the reflecting ponds and how you walk through. So even though it's not a building at the top of a mountain of stairs, there still is a sense of going to someplace special, I think, that approach. The materials, the travertine, the wood, it's not, I don't think, an excessive building, but it's got a lot of good things that would probably be difficult to replace. I don't want to start a fight, and I hope not to be overly pedantic, but people said brutalism. I'm not so sure this is brutalism. I would say that the architects had to have been influenced by the work of Edward Durrell Stone, who was at the height of his career, 50s, 60s, 70s, the Kennedy Center in Washington, and the Florida Capitol, the new Florida Capitol, not new anymore, from the 1970s. But you know, his work was about modern public buildings that tried to give a new language to the classicism that had characterized public buildings before and the nobility of that. And I think you can also look at this with the columns and the portico, and you can see that kind of nod to that sense of, you know, classical architecture in public buildings. And anyway, thank you. And I also hope that once it's designated, maybe the building is a little more cherished also by people of Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Elena Paris Ketchum, and I am the daughter of Gus Paris, who was mentioned in the presentation, a lifelong resident of Tampa, born and raised here with my family immigrating from Greece in the early 1900s to Tampa. I'm an attorney with the firm of Stichter Rydell right across Gaslight Park. My father was one of the two young architects who worked for the Genuine firm with Angel Oliva, who was primarily tasked with Mr. Oliva of designing the auditorium that is behind the main building of the library. One of his main contributions for the auditorium is actually, if you go and look, there's a base that's quite unique and intricate that was styled off of Frank Lloyd Wright, and so that was my dad's contribution. I will tell you, it's something as a lifelong resident to drive around and be able to see, just like Mrs. Genuine mentioned, to see your family's contribution physically in the city itself, and to say, my family and my father had a stake in something that I'm looking at and that thousands within the city cherish and have an opportunity to enjoy. My father did share with me that the auditorium was an expression of modern architecture at that time, now known as mid-century modern. My parents still are in their 80s, mid-80s, and still live here in Tampa. The library and auditorium directly speak to and provide the community with a direct and active link to this style of architecture. As it has been mentioned, there's no other building or buildings like this in downtown. If you look at all the development that's going on and the styles that are going up, they are not at all similar to this building. And this building is unique and gives a unique face to downtown. It is only through these buildings that the character of the city is a visible representation to all of its citizens. And this building in and of itself, to Mr. Miranda's point, harkens back to the past, but also serves into the future for all of our citizens, whether it's a library, whether it's the archives that are actually housed for the city of Tampa, that citizens can go and look at archival photos, such as the one that was in the presentation today. So I would submit that it's more than a library. It serves today as a function as a library and historically has been a library, but it really is the face of Tampa in downtown and is to be preserved as that face of downtown Tampa. With the rapid growth, again, it's something to be preserved and to be really admired for whether you're a student of architecture or not. And so with that, and on behalf of my family, we do thank the mayor's consideration of bringing this proposal before you and this council's consideration of the proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Yes, good morning. My name is John Mullen, and I'm a local attorney, but today I'm here in my capacity as president of the Friends of the John F. Germany Library, which is a chapter of the countywide nonprofit Friends of the Library. The Friends wholeheartedly support this landmarking effort to designate the JFG Library and its auditorium as a local landmark. The building has served our community well for more than 60 years, or nearly 60 years, and we are eager to see that continue for decades to come. Personally, I have regularly used the library since 1974, 50 years, which is the year my father started working as a librarian there. He worked there for 20 years. Since his passing, for the last 25 years, I've been a friend of the library and been regularly involved at the John F. Germany Library. So what I've seen in that time, I've witnessed the changes, the interior renovations, the improvements to the library and to all the services that the library provides. I can attest that, especially with the recent influx of residents in several large apartment buildings and condominiums within walking distance, the library is today a more vibrant and well-used space than it has been since its early years in the 1960s and 1970s. To give just one example, today there's a few hundred University of Tampa students who live in the 20-story Henry apartment building that's just 1 block away. We see many of those students regularly use the library as a convenient study hall and a resource center. We also see increased foot traffic from around the area with the large number of events that are held in the Curtis Hickson Park. We see foot traffic come in all the time because of that and events at the Strass Center as well. It's a great synergy that we see there. The Friends operate a bookstore, and we have regular monthly book sales. Every dollar that we raise through book sales goes to pay for library programs, every dollar. And we sell more than $10,000 worth of books every year. Most of those books are priced at $2 or less. That's a lot of books that we sell. It's a lot of traffic that we see. So in addition to the library's architectural and cultural significance that you've heard a lot about, the library also recognizes the contributions of one of our historically significant citizens, John Germany himself. Mr. Germany served as a circuit court judge and was the very first president of the Friends of the Library. And he was one of the founding partners of the prominent law firm of Holland & Knight. Coincidentally, I had the pleasure of working alongside Mr. Germany at Holland & Knight for more than a decade. He was a very good man. He was humble. And I can verify he had absolutely nothing to do with the naming of the building in 1999 in his honor, which was a community effort, as many of you have mentioned. That idea was developed and supported by many local leaders who saw it as a fitting way to honor Mr. Germany and his many contributions to our community. This landmarking effort helps solidify that as well. So in closing, the Friends of the Library fully support this effort. To address Mr. Clendenin's concern, I wanted to mention that I have conferred with library management about whether they have a position on this landmarking issue. As a public body and as public employees, they cannot take a position on it. However,
very much, sir.
if they objected, they could instruct me to do that. I have not been so instructed.
Thank you very much.
We support. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Mr. Mullins, please, sir. I need some help.
Yes, sir.
I need a lot of help, but besides that, on this issue.
Are you a psychiatrist?
I wanted to clarify so I wouldn't get Mr. Clendenin coming after me. But anyway, many years ago, there was a young lawyer came to see the city of Tampa government that used to work at Holland & Knight. And he's the one that brought up, and I'm struggling with the time and period in history what it was, and it was either under one of the past 3 administrations that he came up and renamed the library. It's called Tampa or Hillsborough County Library, I forget what it was, but it did not have the name John Germany.
Right.
He's the one that came to the city of Tampa and brought up naming this library after the former John Germany, the
Yes.
judge and so forth. Do you remember all that?
I do. I was involved
Can you bring that
on a
to
somewhat
us?
more tangential level, but I was involved. I think some of the leaders of that effort who may have appeared here were Richard Blau, who is still a practicing lawyer at another firm, and also Steve Yared was involved.
Steve Yared was the one that came now. You brought it to my mind. I know it was Steve, but all that came, and I forget which administration it was. I'm not sure if it was Buckhorn's.
It was 1999.
99?
It was Greco.
That was the end of Greco's term, I think.
I think that's right.
Yeah. I remember one of those two, and I was struggling in my mind. I didn't want to make an error. Notice I didn't call it a mistake. There's a difference between an error and a mistake. But thank you very much for your presentation, and you're working with the great people. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miranda.
Let's keep it going. Councilmember Clendenin, then Councilmember Carlson.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify, the questions that I had, I don't want the people to think that in any way my questions were negative or about the historic designation of this. I just felt like those type of questions, this is the time to ask those questions because, after this hearing, it's too late. I think those need to be aired out in public hearing. I am all for historic preservation. I think it was part of my campaign when I ran that we can't tear down everything that's special about Tampa to create something new. We have to be able to preserve and blend to make this city a truly great city, because no great city in this world bulldozed their old city and then built a brand new one from scratch. So I think that's important. Also, with the exception of that building next door, I want to live long enough to be able to have the wrecking ball in my hands and control when I get to that building next door. But yeah, and I don't see that as, again, when you look at this building as a brutalist, I don't necessarily identify it as brutalist, because I agree with the architect that spoke about the blending of kind of a historic grand building to a mid-century modern building, the use of travertine, softening with the honeycomb structure, the fountains in the beginning, and it's so transparent with the glass, and then of course the interior with staircases, and I mean there's a lot of elements about it that are open and airy and expose the blending of outside to inside. So it's very different than what we see over here. But I'm going to fully support this, of course, and I look forward to actually extending this designation to other structures in the city of Tampa, because it's important to make sure that we preserve our history.
Councilmember Carlson.
Just in case it hasn't been done, it probably has been done, but I hope somebody from Communication or USF or somebody will grab video coverage of some of the testimony today, but also interview the families. And if some of the architects are still available, I hope that we can get them on video and record it, because I know there are some buildings that folks who are still around have difference of opinion of who did what, and it's important to get for the family histories also to have it all recorded. So hopefully somebody will do that and capture this important family history. Thank you.
Motion to close?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Henderson, would you mind reading it?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, file number HL24-3846, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, designating John F. Germany Public Library and Auditorium located at 900 North Ashley Drive, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 3 hereof, as a local historic landmark, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call, vote.
Viera.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson. Yes. Hurtak.
Yes.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be on May 16th at 9:30 a.m. at Old City Hall, located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
All right, item number 65 will not be heard as a missed notice. May I have a motion to reschedule that hearing to June 6, 2024 at 1:30 p.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602, 3rd floor. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Viera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 66, I think this is very quick, isn't it? Yes. And then we're going to break for lunch, and after lunch, we're going to come back with item 86.
Good morning, City Council. Morris Massey, Deputy City Attorney. This is the required City Council public hearing to adopt the amendment to the Channel District Community Redevelopment Plan for the Channel District CRA. The resolution was attached as Exhibit A to the resolution setting the public hearing. Notices of the public hearing were sent to all taxing authorities and were published, and it was published in the newspaper. I'm going to submit the actual resolution that you're being requested to adopt, which again is part of the backup in your backup, to the clerk to make it clear what's being adopted. The only thing I've done is marked the number of the resolution, the CRA resolution, where you all recommended its approval. I'm here for any questions.
Is there any action that we need to take today, or?
You need to approve the resolution.
Okay. Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in the last 24 hours or so, I've had outreach from the maritime community. Folks have pointed out that there are some direct and indirect references in this document that can be seen as adverse to the maritime community. An example is that the entire area east of Channelside Drive is designated as a underdeveloped, underutilized area. That goes with the philosophy. It seems to indicate the philosophy of converting maritime land to condos, and that utilizing high-paying blue-collar jobs in the maritime industry is not important, and also vague references to the Riverwalk. There's a discussion right now where some folks want to get rid of the maritime industry and put the Riverwalk around the water. And so with those concerns of the maritime community and my interest in protecting the maritime community, I'm going to vote no.
Anybody else? Yes, sir?
I'm going to vote yes. There's certainly the Riverwalk concerning to all parties, and I'm not here to take the cruise ship out of business, not at all. And that's what the rumor is. Whether it's factual or not, I don't know. But if there is a Riverwalk extension, it will certainly not interfere with the ships coming in for people who want to go on vacation or whatever. On a daily basis, those ships are not here. So there could be a Riverwalk which is walkable when they're not here and not walkable when they are here. Everything has the opportunity to be designed that way, and I haven't met with no one or spoke to no one on either side. That's just my feeling. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as we work through this modified redevelopment plan, I would just encourage the maritime community or any parties invested or interested in this particular area to reach out to other council members as well. If you have concerns, I would hope that you would share them so we could have a diverse and broad perspective on helping you address your concerns. Thank you.
Briefly, couple things. The Port Authority is part of the advisory committee, the Channel District CRA Advisory Committee, so they're involved. Nothing in the plan mandates any development of any property or the extension of the Riverwalk. Finally, this is a public hearing, so you do need to invite the public if they have any questions or comments.
Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 66? There's nobody registered. Anybody? Sir? Second. We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Is there a motion to move the resolution? So moved. We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Henderson. Roll call vote.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson. Pertek. Yes. Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson voting no.
All right, we are going to break for lunch. We're going to come back at 1:15, and we're going to go right to number 86. 1:15? I want 1:20. All right, we'll make it 1:20, but we're going to start with item number 86. We are in recess.